Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are not aware, internationally renowned cyber law and IP and media law expert. She is practicing in Supreme Court of India, High Court of Delhi, and many other courts. She is an accomplished author, policymaker, and highly inspiring speaker at conferences, print, electronic media, and television. We see her very often on television these days, of course. Dr. Seth is the founder of Seth Associates, an established law firm based in Delhi, operates out of Noida. She has office in Noida, Sector 142, I think. Her contribution to growth and development of cyber laws in India and internationally is widely acknowledged in the corporate world. She has been empaneled as a member of the working group of ICANN, the organization which gives numbers and names in the cyberspace, formed to design the policy framework impacting global domain registration services. She contributes to various working group consultations aimed at design policies for emerging technologies. She is also associated with FICCI, CII, NASCOM, DSCI, ASSOCHAM, and other industry bodies, and is highly recommended as cyber lawyer, policymaker, law enforcement, and corporate educator in cyber laws. She is part of international legal think tanks, and that especially for working for the women and child empowerment. She has been an expert on the expert panel of UNICEF, working on the online safety, and actively associates with International Center for Missing and Exploited Children in its think tanks in India. Dr. Seth also has founded a philanthropic organization, Foundation for Institutional Reform and Education, to promote cyber awareness, and particularly works for empowering women and children. She was conferred the Great Indian Women Award 2021, National Gaurav Award in 2017 for exemplary contribution to cyber laws. She received the Digital Empowerment Award in 2015 and Law Day Award from Chief Justice of India for her book Protection of Children on Internet. She also received the Law Day Award in 2012 for her book Computers, Internet, New Technology Laws. This is one area where she excels, bringing in together the law and the technology. She is a LLB, LLM from UK, and PhD in cyber laws. She is also a product of Harvard University in computer science certification. A real expert in cyber laws as far as our topic is concerned for today. Cyber laws, a corporate perspective, is what she will be speaking on. I can go on and on as far as her accomplishments are concerned. Over 2 decades of standing at the bar, that itself speaks a lot, especially when you are practicing in cyber law. I have been part of the bar associations, and I know how difficult it is to excel, but she has chosen a field which is need of the hour. Thank you very much for being part of this session, Dr. Karnika. Over to you. You have the presentation privileges.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. I think this is something that we all need upskilling, and we're talking about IT and security, and this is an excellent initiative of yours. I congratulate the entire senior team of ISAC for taking up this initiative of holding this cyber awareness and cyber safety and cyber law education cohorts program that is for scholars. And to all the distinguished I would say audience today, I wish you all a very happy Army Day as well, and Makar Sankranti too. So we would start on this note today on cyber laws. Talking about cyber law is a huge paradigm in itself, and I know I may not be able to do justice to entire time that we have, because there's so much to cover. But I do intend encapsulating briefly the practical insights of having practiced this field for two decades. What kind of evolution we have seen as practitioners of law, and to take you through this entire matrix of the gamut of laws that we have, what we call as cyber laws. So with this, I'll start the presentation. I'll just share the screen. I'm just trying to see where this will be, or could that be uploaded from your end?
No, it's coming on now.
Your share, okay. I think the screen. Are you able to see it now?
Yes, it's you make it in presentation mode. Yes, as of now, it's in edit mode.
Are you able to see it now?
Yes, it's visible.
Very well. So we are talking about cyber law today, and when we say cyber law, there are, as I said, entire gamut of laws which come into play. You know, when we talk about cyber law, it's not just cyber crime, or it's not just how we manage the whole cyber security system of the country, but you know, the issue of authentication, the issue of signatures, the issue of damages which are payable for any you know, contraventions, and likewise, you know, how we'll handle electronic evidence. All of these issues are intrinsic to the field of cyber law, so we'll be touching on all of them while we're doing this presentation. Now, if we see the way cybercrime has evolved, you know, especially during the pandemic, there's so much which has happened, you know, in terms of cybercrime, especially not only just crime against property, crime against people, but also crime against companies. We've seen a huge leap, you know, in terms of kind of crimes which have evolved around this time, especially during the pandemic. So 500% growth is what we have seen in the past 2 years or so. And when the pandemic just started, at that point it was said that there will be 86% of rise, but now in today's times we are already seeing a 500% growth. So the crimes obviously vary. You know, when we talk about the kind of crimes, we'll be talking about them. For example, you know, we've seen a lot of ransomware increase in this time, data thefts which have happened in the WFH environment, and lots of QR code scams with payment apps, and of course fake medicines and fake vaccination drive scams. They have percolated the cyberspace. So we'll be talking about each of them, but before that I just want to give you a very basic insight on the IT Act 2000. It started, you know, that this was enacted in 2000, and 20 years from now, you know, from then on, there have been amendments from time to time, but by and large, it was enacted to authenticate or to give legal recognition to electronic records, e-filing, and other, give a basic paraphernalia of sections which will lie over the main matrix or the infrastructure on which it will be, the cybersecurity system or the cyber law system will be built in the country. So it broadly talks about the attracting the jurisdiction, first of all, where the jurisdiction will lie, for example, in civil cases or in criminal cases, and where what acts like unauthorized access, for example, to any data amounts to a contravention under 43. Then hacking would be if there is an intentional unauthorized access or damage to a particular data. Then there have been various offenses which are probably not even mentioned in the IT Act, but they're already part of the general law in the IPC. I'm sure you would have gone through most of them. You're using these sections probably in the everyday parlance, but what I wanted to bring to you was the case studies. We'll be discussing some real life cases which we've handled, and that will give you more practical insight into what kind of issues we've really dealt with. So having said that, the prescriptive jurisdiction, of IT Act is very wide. So anybody outside India also, if he commits an offense affecting a computer system or data in India, is liable under the IT Act. It is a different matter altogether whether how we are able to enforce it and to what extent, but prescriptive jurisdiction does lie. Now, when we talk about, IT Act, we also have sections on electronic signatures. Now, even Aadhaar authentication, when we talk about eKYC through Aadhaar, even that is recognized by the IT Act. Most of the times, whenever they have to e-file, even in the courts, there is a voluntary basis on, giving your Aadhaar OTP-based verification, or they can use digital signatures, token-based or otherwise. So that is also a possibility. That's recognized as valid signatures under the IT Act as well. Then legal recognition is being given to electronic contracts. So if, for example, there's an offer and acceptance and two parties enter into an electronic agreement, it's very well known now that it is a legally valid contract under Section 810A of the IT Act. So likewise, during pandemic or otherwise, all contracts have happened online using various services like DocuSign or otherwise. Parties have been able to enter into contracts. Then there's another aspect of IT Act. Certifying authorities, they give out, issue out digital signatures, and then there are also civil and criminal liabilities laid down under the IT Act, out of which the most rampantly used is the 43 and the 43A of the IT Act, where unauthorized access, damage to any data, or alteration of data is punishable with civil penalties, and compensation can be claimed with adjudicating authority under the IT Act. Then, when we talk about, the role of the adjudicating authority, they give compensation. He's Secretary IT in almost every state, has the authority to look at those cases and deal with those cases and give out compensation to parties who are affected. For example, we've done cases where, there was an unauthorized debit made to a customer's account who was a marine engineer and was traveling on seas when his the debit cards were, unauthorizedly used. And that particular transactions were almost 98 transactions which happened during a short span of few days. And reversals of those amounts were being shown in his bank statement. So obviously there was a criminal case lodged as well as a civil case. And the banks had not, the bank had not complied with the RBI directions. The RBI directions are mandate to actually follow the security parameters, sending the OTP on the security, like you have the various registered emails or registered phone numbers. No messages had gone across on those. And there were various other issues, apart from the ISO certifications not being in place, the audits not being in place. So there was a compensation granted in such a case. And then there is obviously another forum, which is appeal. So TDSAT is the new forum, which is, being empowered with this right, and they basically look at cases which have gone in appeal from adjudicating authority. So interesting, issues arise. So if banking ombudsman has not probably resolved a particular case, one can obviously go to these authorities under the IT Act. Now, this brings me to criminal cases. In criminal cases, the power to investigate, is with the inspector and above now. So in that regard, whenever there is a cybercrime, what we normally do is immediately ask the party to file the case, a complaint before the nearest police station or the cybercrime.gov.in portal. And then the electronic evidence is obviously preserved. So screenshots of those are also filed along with the complaint, and the various sections of IT Act which get attracted in a case are also mentioned there. And then, the following up of those cases happens, and there is a investigation by the police for various aspects like IP address tracing, contacting the service provider to get the exact location from where this particular fake ID, for example, was created, or a fake email was created, or posts were made. So I will be discussing those cases too. But in one of the interesting cases which we had handled, the IP address was traced to a place near Gurgaon. And in that case, the senior level officer of an Indian company of MNC was defamed through various means on social media or otherwise. And when those emails were traced and those posts were traced, they were found to be from a particular IP address in Gurgaon. So when that was tracked, that location was found to be a cyber cafe. And then after that, it was determined that this somebody who rampantly uses the cyber cafe, who is the person. There was an ex-employee who they suspected. So when it was interviewed, the particular person was basically investigated. The particular computers of the cafe were investigated. It was found through softwares and otherwise that same ex-employee had actually used the cafe. So therefore, in these kind of cases, a lot of cooperation is needed from service providers, and thankfully they have started, giving us the data needed to actually, pinpointedly say from where it is happening. But the challenge nowadays is, the software, the technology which is available to criminals. Specifically, when they use VPNs, proxy servers, or Tor, or other kind of equipments, obviously tools, they are able to camouflage many cases, their IP, but yet it can be still tracked in many cases. It's not that it's foolproof, but there are challenges to that to the law enforcement authorities. Now, this slide, basically captures the kind of laws which we are really using, special laws when different cases are involved, when they are trademark law, cases, domain thefts, for example. When we deal with domain name disputes, there are a lot of trademark violations, fake or similar looking deceptive trademark may be, incorporated within a domain. And that is something which is actionable in law as well. And it could be a POCSO case where a child has been targeted online by stalking or sextortion rackets. There are fake email IDs created, there are fake social media handles created, phishing scams. So different provisions of different laws apply depending on what particular facts of a case are. Now, when we talk about corporate fraud, specifically since we are talking about corporate perspective, I want to take you through this slide, the kinds of crimes, which percolate today. For example, now man-in-the-middle attacks. I'll just give you a live example of what happened in one of these cases which we handled. The exporter and the buyer located in two different jurisdictions, and the accounts team of those jurisdictions, when they worked on those transactions, fake email ID. One of the employees inside us created fake email ID, and that email ID was being used by to change the invoice and the details of the invoice therein. And when that was done, the buyer actually didn't suspect that, and all transactions were happening on email, and the monies were siphoned off to some other location. So these are all very rampant cases, and what I wanted to inform you, let you know is a lot of times, people don't contact on phones, and because of that, there is, a lack of communication, and these frauds are very easily, it just is so easy. So as a social engineering technique, that one needs to be very, very careful of what can transpire if one doesn't really look at these transactions very carefully with a lot of prudence, especially counting transactions. So if you see the kind of other cases which have arisen in this time frame, malware attacks, for example. Now, when we say malware attacks, ransomware is one of the most rampant ones at this point of time. And encrypting of the entire data, through a particular link, or encryption, or rather the whole hard disk can be encrypted, and that has led to a lot of loss of business. In a number of cases which we handled, it's not easy to also find the key very easily. Sometimes they are available, but the key to decrypt may not be available, and if you don't have a backup, obviously it's a corporate challenge, for any organization to retrieve its data. And people have paid with bitcoins, people have paid to retrieve the data, and sometimes it is fully retrieved, sometimes it is not retrievable. So these cases again fall under cybercrime, and one reports them, and but takes action, but whatever is a loss of data, one doesn't have a backup, suffers for that. Then what we also advocate here is, we need to have routine checks and balances of data, what backups we keep and how we keep, because there is also, deemed liability of directors under the IT Act. So if you don't ensure correct practices, specifically if you're dealing with customer data and you've not kept the data secure with the parameters that are supposed to be followed under IT Act, and with the PDP bill coming into play, there will be more stringent liability, and therefore it's essential to have the best practices and audits in order. So that brings me to other problems like fake news. A lot of it has been said in the media about it, but people fall for fake news and enter into transactions like auctions or buying bitcoins or other kind of relying on certain terrorist attack or other kinds of news, or buying certain other products or offers of employment, and land up in trouble. So those are either fake news or they are phishing scams which steal people's data, and also they end up paying monies for no reason, and they get duped. So with identity theft, it's generally coupled with phishing because there is a fake ID which is created, and generally ID of a person who is probably known, somebody who's a colleague or someone who is another partner in or an associate in another jurisdiction or a land. Identity is stolen using various mechanisms. I mean, it could be an email ID, it could be a phone number. And interestingly, on internet, we know that it's very easy to send an SMS using, or call using VoIP with a fake identity. It takes a matter of seconds to do that, and people generally get duped even with that. And involving payment scams like QR code scams, the criminal would ask for a QR code to be sent, and the person shares it and he doesn't realize the money is not coming into the payment like that e-wallet, but it is actually going out from his account. So those kind of scams also we have dealt with, where doctors have been duped. There was a very popular, like famous scam which is happening in Delhi NCR, where product had to be bought, and payment apps were being misused rather, by criminals to commit these crimes. So then there have been issues of sextortion, not been mentioned in this slide, but again, a lot of them using social media, contacting a stranger, acting as if they want to be friends, and then they would land up, doing certain things which are illegal, capture the photographs or conversations, and later on blackmail the person that somebody's personal chat or personal information would be sent online. Those are demanding monies through blackmail, and that's a huge sextortion racket, where both children and even senior citizens, or in fact anybody, can fall a trap or be entrapped by these kind of scams. So there have been lots of those kind of issues as well. Then snooping, again, it's like interception, basically intercepting somebody's conversation or otherwise through phone or through chats using various malware. It's like even CCTVs have been hacked, and in various establishments or even homes, and that snooping of chats and phone conversations is again a very rampant thing. And in many cases, the encrypted messages is also been a part of challenge, but then with encrypted messages, it's still fine. You have some degree of reliance you can place on it, but other conversations which are not protected, they have been a matter of challenge in many cases. So this basically gives you a short overview of what kind of cases we regularly see in the cyberspace. But especially during COVID pandemic, there have been fake donation scams, malware attacks, and through various video conference apps, even online apps which people are using, or web platforms for conversations. Sometimes pandemic necessitated that the sensitive conversations also happen through various software, but then most of them which are paid are safe. There was an issue about Zoom, but then I think a lot of features got added as well, and so it was advisories were given by certain regarding how safely they can use such platforms. So this brings us to the offenses part. I've told you about the trends, the modus operandi, and how these scams are happening. But then when we talk about law and application of law, we regularly use these sections. For hacking, we use section 66. Cheating by personation, use 66D. Violation of privacy, somebody creating a a violation of somebody's pictures have been taken or video has been taken. Again, 66E, child pornography, 67B. Likewise, these are the sections. Cyber terrorism, we have 66F. It's most stringent, up to life imprisonment has been given as a punishment here. But in other cases, most of them, barring child pornography, which is 5 years of punishment, there have been mostly these other offenses with 3 years of punishment and fine. So most of them again being bailable, but non-bailable are those offenses which are, with a punishment of above 3 years or more. So that's how the criminal, offenses, the matrix of these sections is. But the most important challenge right at the outset happens, whenever a case comes to us, it's like, where do we file a complaint? So, and it's not, initially crimes were being committed, mostly, the issues would come within a particular territory. So it's related to India. Now the crimes are no more just location or, in like country specific. So we've dealt with those cases where they have cross-border crimes. There are often now, I think I would, if I can tell you, most of 60-70% cases are happening where a lot of corporate cases I'm talking about, where cross-border crime is involved, and more than a single jurisdiction is often involved in those crimes. And there, the issue is, where has the offense been committed from? Is part of the offense also committed in India? We look at all these parameters. And even cases of defamation, if an act is done in one jurisdiction, but the consequences felt in another jurisdiction, both the jurisdictions have, you can actually file a complaint in. So these are the issues. And apart from that, we've also dealt with cases when somebody is not in in the national borders, really territory or land, even if they're on sea. So their issues are different. So there, if it's a ship or an aircraft, whether that aircraft was registered in India or whether a ship was registered in India. So there we have to use all these aspects also to determine jurisdiction. I think one of the most interesting slides of this whole presentation will be this one, because we are talking about real cases. So there have been multiple different defamation cases where celebrities or otherwise, people who have been defamed online, whether it's through trolling or it's through email or it is through television broadcast programs, or if it is, through say anonymous communication to various people. So there are different levels of having a defamation case, and different modus operandi used everywhere. So we have seen those cases and dealt with those cases where we look for injunction orders. We seek injunction orders from the court to block such defamatory content out. And we have to usually rope in the service providers who have been used, because the tracing of the IP, and that has to be done to find who the person is behind the whole racket. So in those cases, defamation, we seek compensation as well as immediate injunction orders are being obtained from the court. Then there have been cases where hacking of servers has happened. This is one of the most challenging cases which we've actually dealt with. And this was a case where a foreign company, a real estate company, was hacked through its own service provider who had a back office in India. And the tracing on the same, was the server was done, and it was using a particular interface called Jira. If you know about that, there was a transfer of the IP. They were actually engaged to create a website, and when the website was created and the handover of the website with the entire proprietary material was given, it was later on stolen by the same back office which worked on it. So there the challenge was to say that the jurisdiction should be India, because after all the hacking took place from India, and the raid was committed, and then the police confiscated the servers, and during that time the entire systems which were used to commit these crimes were sealed and brought to the court with the local commissioner. And there, in such cases, the forensic took place, and it was found that yes, there was traces of hacking, and one could still find it, even though the hard disks were manipulated, and other issues percolated in this case. But what I'm trying to emphasize here is that it is a challenge to work on such cases with law enforcement authorities. However, it is still easier in such a scenario where the back office, for example, in this case, or the accused in this case, is in India. The challenge is when the accused has fled India, after committing the offense, or somebody who's involved is outside in collusion with somebody outside India. So then the MLAT process and the entire way of getting evidence from abroad is an issue, because it's not so quick. The cooperation treaties or the bilateral treaties, though Interpol and other, I would say bilateral treaties do play a very important role here, but tampering of such data or non-availability is always a risk, because it is tamperable as well. So that is a challenge. And then there have been cases where social media profiles, have been again created, fake handles using VPN or Tor or other, softwares and tools, and that camouflaging one's identity and then creation of such profiles. Yet a lot of times, the accused may not be so clever. At times it's very easy to trace them, and you can pinpoint geographically where exactly, what latitude, longitude this is come from. There are tools available to do that. So I'm sure you're using that on a very usual and ordinary basis. And there are obviously possibilities of even tracking the cell tower data and other gadgets which may be involved, and who are the close contacts who are actually working in a racket with that particular person. And that's again available through softwares, and there are various tools. I think there's one tool for social media called ASMA also, which India uses, as law enforcement uses for the same. So interestingly, in one of the cases, we've proposed using that tool, because one can actually find the accused and connected people alongside it, to track the particular case. Then there have been, data theft cases. Very interesting. We have dealt with many of these data theft cases where ex-employee has been, involved, and there was a stealing of copyrighted and other kinds of data, and whether it's client database or other sensitive data, and that is used by the criminal to, siphon off monies, or, it would be even to dupe the customers of the company through sending various mails. But primarily in data theft cases, the data is misused by a ex-employee to create a parallel company alongside, even when he's working, or maybe after he leaves the employment. So that is also a challenge, because there again, the forensics of the system that he used has to be done, and then also what kind of emails have gone using a particular service provider. So getting that data, if it's not available in the system, or he has formatted or deleted the entire trace, then looking at the server, is the organization using DLP or not, so data loss prevention softwares. All these things become important, and we use those screenshots, and we've used in the past Access Data and other kind of companies and software for taking evidence and then filing it in a court of law in a proper manner. I'll be coming to electronic evidence, but before I do that, there was one more interesting case which we recently handled last week or 10 days ago, which was a particular person using social media was contacted, had contacted certain people asking for monies, because he would blackmail the person, having personal pictures of the person, or videos of the person, and there was a sextortion racket again. There, the the accused was actually caught and arrested, and then he was behind bars. So these kind of cases, the service providers need to cooperate and also give, apart from the confiscated gadgets which are used, the service providers have to give out data. And many cases they do provide now in a sealed cover the IP addresses from where these particular case posts were made or particular communications happened, and that is then utilized to actually see whether the offense was committed by an X person or a Y person and from what location. So having said that, I mean, these are just a tip of the iceberg, what I have told you, but the cyber law, we have really seen a huge rise in kinds of cases, and multiple cases actually don't involve a single offense. They are having multiple offenses alongside. So that becomes very interesting indeed. And all these sections which you see, on the slide become important. In cases of personal data breaches, we've used the right to privacy and right to be forgotten, because now there was an interesting case where a person claimed his right to be forgotten after his domestic case was settled up, and he obviously didn't want his name to be shown in the case law database or news reports. And there have been, cases where right to be forgotten is now being utilized very well in India, and right to privacy is obviously there. So that's again something we rampantly use now, just as KS Puttaswamy case. And then in number of cases, injunction orders have been obtained with the help of these case laws. And many cases, when we talk about electronic evidence, we use 65B certificates, because in the evidence law, there is a requirement that the in charge of a computer system or needs to give a certificate saying that this was this data which has been taken and produced before court of law is something which is authentic, and it is original, and nothing has been tampered with it. No computer system at that particular point of time, it was not malfunctioning, and everything was in order. Those kind of declarations have to be given unless you're producing the original device itself. So if you're producing the original device, needn't give that. But if 65B is needed, if there is a secondary evidence involved, and that has been now, law has been very clearly laid down under the Arjun Pandit Rao judgment, which reconciles and rather overrules, the Shafi Mohammed case, and then talks about the PV, Anwar versus PV Bashir case has been reaffirmed in this. So this basically gives a very clear view that when you use 65B certificate and when you don't need to use 65B. Now, in most of these cases, plastic money frauds or otherwise, what is the first thing that one does? Obviously, one reports it to the bank, one reports it to the police, and one tries to block the credit cards or the debit cards. And if a server is hacked, in cases of bank frauds, there's a zero liability for the customer if he immediately informs the bank about it. And one obviously registers a police complaint, and emergency helplines are available. So these are very, very basic, I would say, best practices one advises on in such cases. And this is the portal. We are all, I'm sure, familiar with it. So we report the crime reporting portal, and then the police starts working and they start collecting information and evidence. So evidence is obviously collected through various means. When you talk about gadgets, or you talk about laptop or a device, maybe a mobile phone or a server, cell data, tower data, it could be even getting service provider data. So with the help of all these data, and if it's a protected system, there's a different protocol which is followed altogether. So that is looked at, and investigation happens, followed with a charge sheet, and then the case goes into trial with the charges. So that's how we have seen practice of cyber crime and cyber law. And convictions are few. I agree, convictions are few, because till the time the case actually happens and isn't prosecuted, the whole journey is long. And in India, we do take long in terms of backlog. We have huge backlog. But thankfully, issues of bank frauds are being resolved quickly with ombudsman being there. But still, there are, those are certain monies being recovered, or bank settles out with the payments. But in cases of criminal cases, we need a special cybercrime courts to handle cybercrime. Very few courts, and there's no special court really, except for crimes against women and children. We don't find many cybercrime courts really have installed, and that's something which we really need to work on, and I've always advocated that. Now, this slide basically captures what I also just discussed, the urgent but detriment judgment. So in a line, I can just summarize it, that you don't need to produce 65B certificate if you're producing the original evidence, but the device itself, but you do need it when you're relying on secondary evidence, whether it's audio, video, or otherwise, or a photocopy or a printout of an email or a chat. All this can be produced as evidence. Now, let me just take you through some, frauds which have happened, especially pandemic-related frauds. Now, fake donation sites I mentioned. People have not gone to see whether it's a real WHO site, and they've paid donations. There have also been cases of PM Cares Relief Fund, fake handles being created, and those were blocked. That's also been there. Many phishing sites been blocked. And in this time frame, you've seen fake mails coming from authorities as if they're coming from original authentic authorities, and people have realized they can actually track fake news now by going to original newspaper handles or using websites like Podometer, Fact Check. So now people are more cyber aware, and that's a good sign, because many of these services are free, and they just need to be informed that they can't just click on every and any link which comes on social media. So having discussed the first part of the presentation, which was basically to talk about practical insights of these cases, but second part of it really concentrates on the best practices, because we all understand many of these issues would have been probably covered, but I thought it will be good to just cover a few of them and say that what we need to do when we need to be safe online, and one wants to advise anybody or even adopt yourself those measures. As a corporate world, we have seen many tools which have been useful, and when I spoke for Chambers of Commerce, many of those presentations, we discussed this during WFH times, what one needs to do. So out of common sense, we all understand whenever we're using software, it has to be updated, OS has to be updated, Wi-Fi has to be a secure Wi-Fi, and deployment of anti-spyware and antivirus is there on every individual device or phone also now. And obviously, many of these issues involve common sense, as in not clicking on every link that you find, reading terms of service. The other day, I was just downloading an app, and I realized myself that how much information it was actually asking for without the need to do anything to do with that information. So if it's a nutrition app, or if it's a health app, or otherwise, they are taking information like your photographs, your videos, your gallery access, your contacts access. I don't know why somebody has to do that. I mean, why should somebody? It's your, after all, right to privacy, and you don't have to use your original names either. So you can register on a site or even use it without registration. And that's something which many of us are not aware, or may not be looking into these issues, but later on they create a havoc. So using digital signatures, two-factor authentication, and obviously checking the original websites is important. Usage of VPNs is also recommended, data loss prevention softwares. And when we've advised corporates, a lot of times we've culled out their work from home policy. We've overhauled their entire structure. As an institution, it may have 50 policies in place, but all of them had to be overhauled because they have to be reviewed, keeping in view today's times, whether it's IT policy, whether it's work from home policy, or whether it's data sharing policy or a cloud service policy. Contracts had to be changed. The entire gamut of policies had to be changed, and who has permission to access which data. the entire, HR, the way they work, the manpower and the pedigree of, access. And it would also require recording of audit trail. So everything had to be, relooked because of the pandemic. The whole system of working has changed. So deployment of tools is one aspect. Overhauling of policies is another aspect, and then advising them on what they need to do as in terms of backup or emergency incident response, making a kind of incident response policy. Those were all interesting issues which we got to work on. Then digital signatures, use of PKI, and then, when we talk about encryption and how they would like to keep it, whether it will be a private cloud they're using or a hybrid cloud they're using, use of password managers, and obviously trainings. So we have, I think, on every level, tried to handhold our clients and customers on how they need to understand this whole change in working environment and adapt themselves with resilience, and be open to changes that they need to deploy within their organization, both technically and legally. Make it compliant. So those have been certain issues and changes that you can see on the slides. Various kind of technologies we've tried to use, even blockchain or otherwise, in certain sectors of work or industry. And usually we look at the 16 steps here, and every step is important. So when we talk about security of a particular organization, right from web hosting to their GDPR compliance. And interestingly, we've also worked on companies who have customers in Europe. So looking at not just companies abroad who are doing business in India, but we had to do a cross audit of or a cross compliance of companies from India who are doing business with European customers or handling their data to be GDPR compliant. So therefore, the intermingle of law and technology has become so intrinsic that we as a practitioner of law or practitioners of law cannot function without technical understanding of this whole system and ecosystem. So thanks to the industry experts and security and alignment of laws and amendments which have happened, that working on these issues has become interesting. And I think I must congratulate Isaac for creating this sort of a program, because it does bring to table the expertise of every stakeholder in terms of security, technical, who's handling forensics, who's handling the law enforcement, the lawyers, the courts, and how the entire system will function. It brings it to a seamless, I think, place, which is important to bring to a single page, understanding of all parties and the perspectives of all parties. So, like I'm talking today to you, you would understand how we as lawyers and hand-holding the corporates help them both to prevent crime and problems within their organization or compliance issues. At the same time, we handle cases which come about when they have problems and there are incidents, and what is to be done, to bring the case before a court of law to get the legal recourse which they really need at that particular point of time, whether it's civil or it's criminal. So I'm very happy to share all this with you today. There are lots of resources available even on our website, which you can maybe look at. And there are also, a lot of, I would say, ebooks and books. And the latest one is the newest edition. The last one is the Computers, Internet, New Technology Laws. And that is up to date. It was just published I think last month, and that's updated law of cyber law in India and US, UK, and Europe. So we've covered insights into all these jurisdictions, because a lot of them get used, in terms of cases and handling cases each time. So you can look at that. Plus, there are lots of ebooks on Amazon, so which I have authored. So you can, various aspects, whether it's mostly topical, depending on which topic interests you, you can look at that. But yes, the main compendium, this reference work is the most updated one is this one, Computers, Internet, New Technology Laws. So with this, I think I would go to the interaction phase. If you permit, this is where I'll stop the presentation and we can start discussions, giving you enough time to take up, good questions and look at more practical issues, from a practical standpoint.
Thank you very much, Karnika. Ladies and gentlemen, Koshi.
Yeah, yes, sir. Ma'am, good afternoon to you. I have two questions actually. One is, as an advocate, can we invoke MLAT when required? Let's say if there's an overseas crime.
Yeah.
Is it possible to invoke MLAT?
Yes, you
Or
can.
you have to go through the MEA for that?
Yes, that's true. There is a whole procedure of doing so, and I know it is circuitous. Sometimes we also need court orders, to ask the court of the other jurisdiction to help out in getting the evidence from those parties which are based abroad, uh, and those service providers which may be based abroad. And often they ask for subpoena or other warrants, to give their information and say this is customer centric data, we cannot give out the data. So we have to, in many cases, use MLAT process as well. And courts also play a role in issuing out orders to get evidence from abroad. And there are treaties between countries and multilateral treaties also which work on this area. Yeah.
Other than MLAT, you mean to say?
Yeah, I mean there are what I can say is that there are two countries, how they want to cooperate with each other. That is also given out in bilateral treaties as well. So there may be some special arrangements which agreed between the two countries. That is also looked into.
Let's say in your law practice, a client comes up with a grievance of blocking a particular website.
Yeah.
Invoking section 69A, do you have to go through MIT, or you can get a court order to invoke 69A, section 69A of IT Act?
See, section 69A is something that, it depends on the facts of every case. Now, if a particular post is there or a website is there, which is a threat to national security, right? And you complain, certain itself also has the right and the power to do that, right? It can block content out. And if court orders have to be obtained, even those can be obtained, in certain situations, where you need to get an injunction. For example, if in some of the cases, one of the cases rather, there was a celebrity who was being defamed through a US based site. Now it was a challenge here that they will submit to the jurisdiction of Indian courts or not. So this case was before the Delhi High Court, and in that we made the registrar of the website also a party. We made the service provider, the main service website owner also a party. And while the website owner did not submit to jurisdiction of that Indian court, the registrar did. And so the court ordered that if they don't take down that website, that particular page out in next 24 hours or 36 hours, the court directed the registrar to block the entire website if they don't do that. So that sort of a compliance is also possible. So the court can also give a blocking order.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other question, ladies and gentlemen? Anyone else?
Yeah, yes, sir. I do have. So first of all, thank you, ma'am, for taking the time on a festival weekend. So thank you so much for that. So I had a question regarding, what I observe, and it's been in news also, that a lot of corporates and even larger startups, so to speak, are continuously exposed to data breaches. Unintentional, intentional is debatable, but the point is that a lot of companies are getting exposed to data breaches, and there doesn't seem to be any direct liability on the part of the companies to increase their cybersecurity practices, and they continue to be less vigilant or not necessarily tightening up their security practices? What is your view on that? Is there any law which is already there, any law in the making? How do we make sure that the corporates become more vigilant and more, rather than something being enforced upon them? So that is my question.
I understand what you want to basically convey, and I do share the same sentiment, because there is a lot of times that companies, they are not proactive; they are reactive. So when we talk about vigilance, they are not geared up to these challenges and think that somebody else can be hacked but not us. But that's not being in reality. So it's something that we always advise them, that you need to have your entire security framework in order, and the software you use, the hardware you use, or the mechanisms to protect your data, they should be there right at the outset. Why should you wait for the crime to be committed? Just be able to prevent it. And therefore we suggest them tools like DLP, or installing firewalls, dedicated servers for cloud. Basically all these aspects become very, very important to design their whole security system, and that's essential, and we've done that for clients. So that's important, and we don't only get in the picture once the problem occurs. And whenever they're negotiating contracts with foreign parties, for example, or with an Indian service provider or otherwise, even there we pitch in. So we have been there to oversee and look and review that all these aspects have been taken care of right at the contract stage, whether it's employment agreements, or it's non-compete agreements, or it's IT policy, or engaging another service provider to commit like to a particular service, perform a particular side of an undertaking or an assignment. All these things are important. So I agree with you. One has to look at having the right tools in order, the legal compliance and policies in order, also contracting in order, and then incident response if need be.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Does it answer your question, Ramki?
Yes, sir. But I think what ma'am is basically saying is that currently there is no specific law which enforces them, but I think all of us have to make sure that we are proactive and make sure that everything is tightened from all ends. But I believe that there is no law dictating or prescribing them that they should be taking all measures in a upfront manner. Is that a correct summary?
I want to clarify
No,
one thing.
that is not correct summary.
What I'm saying is due diligence. Due diligence is essential, but when it comes to customer data, it is important whatever data they are saving, especially 43A of IT Act. It mandates, for example, one of the recommended standards is ISO 27001. So they have to comply with these standards. It's not that there is no I would say obligation on them. There obviously those things are there, but there are certain other things, uh, especially for example banking sector. RBI guidelines are there. They have to. There is a mandate. It's not that it's just I've left up to them how they want to manage the data, and it's only between the user and the service provider what they agree. There are guidelines that, but there are still certain areas, for example, deployment of DLP is something that many organizations have started doing. VPNs, those specific areas are certainly there new. But earlier, these technologies were not available, and now they are available. So a lot of companies are proactively on their own also adopting certain technologies. But whatever is required to be adopted, obviously that is there. It's not that law doesn't exist there. Yes, 43A is there, and for different sectors of industry, their norms and their parameters are there. For health industry, there is a separate norm, and the medical council obviously has their own guidelines, so they have to follow that as well. So that is a separate issue altogether. Yes.
Ramki,
Got it.
you got it. You got it. Sectoral minimum security standards are in place. Part one. NCIIPC gives the regulations for the critical information infrastructure
Yes.
protection. MAITI has guidelines and regulations on minimum standards for data protection. So there are at different levels and stages regulations available specifying the minimum standards. Now what
Yes.
she is talking about is minimum standards, but what is the latest technology? She also touched upon saying that there are technologies available which can definitely provide higher level of protection.
Yes.
Now that part is the discretion of the corporates. That part is the discretion of the companies. That cannot be imposed upon by the regulators, because regulators are looking at minimum standard that is supposed to be followed. The companies will have to look at how to protect further by going for the better technologies, better processes, better people. That's for the companies. This is what is the gist, Rapki.
Yes, I agree.
Ma'am, Colonel Koshi here again. I just one more question.
Please.
So now, many of these services are going to the cloud, and for the sake of investigation, we need to get, let's say, the AWS logs or some trails or something like that. So all that is covered under CRPC 92, or is there any other law in which we can get these logs?
CRPC 91.
91, yeah.
Yes. Basically, you can get the logs from there. In US they have discovery and other processes also. In India also we have certain procedures like that. But by and large, in criminal cases, they produce logs under Section 91, and they are able to get the right data or the IP logs and other footprints from the concerned agency. But if it's a company, say abroad, again the issue becomes how to what bilateral treaties exist, or how do you get that through MLAT or otherwise, intercooperation between police, Interpol involvement. All these things are important, and sometimes nowadays, especially with public grievance officers of the organizations available for such investigations, they are able to cooperate with law enforcement agencies with dedicated email IDs. They write to each other and they exchange information. So it's possible to get that the criminal investigations.
No, but in the case of, let us say, a legal litigation, we have to use CRPC 91 through the law enforcement only, or you can get a court order also to get this done?
We can get a court order. Definitely, that jurisdiction, that discretion is with the court also. They can direct the parties to, present that kind of evidence which is needed. But again, the ministry's involvement may be there. The whole process is outlined. If it's an extradition, for example, it's a different, entirely different procedure for that. Getting evidence is another aspect. One may not have to come to the court to testify. It can be through giving it in a sealed cover along with a 65B evidence certificate. That will be possible, and it needn't even be cross-examined. In most cases, 65B evidence is, alongside the certificate. The logs are given in the court in a sealed cover.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other question?
Sri Shankar, I have one question, man. Thank you very much for the beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
This is about a misinformation campaign across the country, and there have been a lot of cases which can be termed as criminal, but what I find is there is no law that can govern that, right? And although we say that it is all covered under IT Act, the aggregators are the biggest source of this misinformation, and the traceability has been a huge challenge in some of the cases. So in the absence of a law governing it, what kind of a legal remedy can someone look for to prevent this sort of a crime?
There is a different category of fake news, the categorization, whether it's disinformation or it's misinformation or if it's fake news, really, in a broad balance. But having looked at a particular case scenario, for example, if it's a news agency, there could be a case against the news agency. It can also be blocking of its website, or if it's particular news, stopping its further circulation. It could also entail suspension of its license if it's very grave. And there are various norms, for example, in advertising, there have been cases where the norms of advertising have been flouted. So what is violated? After all, we have to see where it will fall, and that depends on the content. What is the effect of the content? Is it in larger public interest, or is it violating only a sectoral guideline? Is it a soft code, or is it a proper law? So all those aspects, and which agency will deal with it. So it will depend on whether it's news, if it's a television program, or if it's an advertisement. We look at all these aspects and then see what is the best legal recourse in any given scenario.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have a couple of questions related to that, Dr. Karnika.
Sure.
May I ask you?
Please go ahead.
Okay. One, the noise that is around the amendment to the IT rules on the code of conduct and the social media guidelines. What's your view and what is the status?
See, the new rules, they have various new legal provisions which have been advocated, but again, it's been a matter of challenge, and certain provisions have been stayed, and there's a whole, I would say, influx of debate on this whole issue. It also intermingles issues of personal data protection and how the service providers will cooperate with law enforcement agencies, within what time frame. For example, in cases of very obscene materials, 24 hours guideline was being discussed, and other cases they have to respond in say 72 hours or otherwise. So there'll be a lot of new issues which have come about, and specifically social media, how I would say, how obligated is it to give out this information, and what kind of preventive measures have to be put in place in terms of due diligence by them. Should it extend to creating a second set of laws which conflicts with or is inconsistent with, say, the broadcasting guidelines, or the newspapers, how they function, and they have their own set of norms and the codes of conduct? Can IT Act transgress into that domain? That's all being discussed and debated. So I think the terrain has to be very, very clear cut, because as you will agree, TRI has its own jurisdiction and area. Likewise, when they created a ban on, say, not 200 SMHs or more can go across, on a particular day, that ban was by the TRI, and that was easily circumvented by using VoIP or other mechanisms which are available online. And various messages were being sent, more than 200 messages a day were being sent through that media. So the interface, how they function, the two different agencies, two different set of laws, they have to be clear cut. At the same time, they have to be taking cognizance of what can be easily circumvented. So both agencies have to be on the same page, and that's not happening. The seamless working of two different areas is becoming a challenge for even regulators, and to manage two different departments or ministries and yet be able to tackle the problem in a seamless way is a challenge. And therefore, such rules, when they come about, there is a huge debate on them, and often they are challenged. And until they find a clear homogeneity in terms of functionality, how they will function in clear cut roles, there will always be a debate. That's how I feel about it. So on a larger, I would say, broader perspective, I'm not against creation of rules where there are lacunas, but it has to be within the powers set for that area, and yet also be mindful of what is the other particular agency's role, and its functions and powers should not be conflicting with what has been created. Yeah.
A hypothetical proposition, I just seek your comment. Had the ecosystem been sensitized more on these things, do you think we would have come out of the self-regulation not being implemented by various agencies, the multiple agencies that you have mentioned? Could it have resulted in a better outcomes in this noise that we are seeing?
It's a utopian concept, I believe, because although I to a certain extent, because when we talk about issues like net neutrality or other issues, we think of soft code and self-regulation. Either we could have had one agency framed which has different stakeholder representation. That could have been easier way out to get a utopian sort of a model or of self-regulation, or if it was not like that, then having a self-regulation, the concept could vary, by from one stakeholder to another. So bringing them on the same page would have been a little difficult. In US and other countries, there is a self-regulation model very easily adapted, because they are talking about freedom of speech and they're very particular on privacy rights and other things, and freedom of the internet. So that's good. The same thing also happens in India, but there is a strong sense of regulation here. So the ministries who are concerned with this deal with those issues, and that's been there not from now, but from initial times as well. Whether it's another set of laws, any law in fact, and cyber law being an amalgamation of so many laws, it becomes a challenge, because that is a area of law which is an amalgamation of many laws. So when you talk about privacy, or you talk about IPR, you talk about broadband, everything is on it, right? So bringing them on the same page with just self-regulation as a sentiment becomes difficult unless there is a body which has stakeholder representation and creates a law. It's sort of a PPP model, maybe that could work.
Thank you. A very well explained. That brings me to the next question. Do you think our IT Act has outlived its utility? Is there a need for us to go for revision, because the industry 4.0 technologies that we are looking at with the cybersecurity probably at the core, do you think there is a need, or no, we are quite good with the law that we have centered around the IT Act?
No, I think the basic framework is there in the IT Act, but the pace at which the technology is changing today, I think we need newer amendments, and very, very quick amendments, because by the time the amendment comes into play, a lot of damage is already done. And we can see that, debates around Bitcoin, we can see the debates around personal data protection, they have been going on for long. And the whole set of laws, the earlier the better. That's how I feel. So it needs a quicker time to be brought into like manifestation, because right now the amendments are discussed and debated for long before they come into picture. That creates a lot of difficult scenario in terms of certain incidents which have already occurred, and then you're actually being reactive in that sense. So looking at what technologies are coming into play, for example, AI today, or blockchain, or Bitcoins, there should be some sort of a regulation, not to fetter the technology, but to handhold it, I feel. So that's something really needs to be looked at. I know the regulators and law enforcement have a very, very strong view on these new technologies because of its inherent problems. Also, it brings along benefits. So one has to balance out the two. So regulators are right there in their own way. At the same time, the internet freedom, people who are talking about internet freedom and advocates of the same have something important to contribute and say. So there has to be a fine balance, which can come through dialogue, which can come through interaction, and then jointly, creation of think tanks, which can cull out some good practices through which the whole ecosystem is, value is added through these technologies. At the same time, it prevents any kind of problems which are inherent in the same.
Thank you. I have one more question before I ask you that question. Is there anyone who wants to ask some question to Dr. Karnika?
Yes, sir, I do. Hi, this is Sohal Shah.
Please, Sohail, go ahead.
Thank
Yes.
you, Dr. Karnika. I think this is a wonderful presentation. I actually did want to ask you a little bit more about ransomware. I think I really liked how you kind of went through your presentation where you actually showed what are the issues and challenges we are facing from a IT security risk perspective, and then what are the laws kind of associated with it. So kind of keeping that same theme, just specifically talking about ransomware. We know that ransomware is definitely rampant. We've seen massive amount of attacks right now, and the only cure or only solution you have um, to kind of get out of a ransomware attack is really have backups. And if you don't, then you really have to pay the ransom. And this kind of puts a lot of companies in a tough dilemma. So let's just assume that the companies that don't have good backups, and now they're in this situation where they've been hit with ransomware, and the only option is paying the ransom, and there are challenges around paying ransoms, Bitcoin, etc. Could you maybe just throw some light on what is the responsible way for companies to approach this? And then what has been your experience? And then where are we in terms of the law, right?
Sure.
The brief of that question is it legal to pay ransom in India? And if yes, if you have to pay through Bitcoins, how does it go? How does one go about it?
See, Bitcoin, as we all have read in the press also and otherwise, it is a gray area. It is even there were issues on, it's at your own risk. Where it had also been issued circulars, and that was again stayed also in certain cases. So it's a matter of influx right now. But now it is ultimately, if the ball is in the client's court, I mean, what has he done? Has he maintained backups or not? Becomes essential. If not, then they have to pay through ransom. The ransom for the ransomware attacks, they have to pay through Bitcoins. They do if they have the same paraphernalia, and the board of directors and the board decides to do that to retrieve their data. There have been cases where that has been done. Now, the issue is legality, not illegality. So far, it's been brought under regulation, but the thing is still being not finalized. So it's a gray area. So one does pays out of their own discretion, and then if there were stringent penalties for engaging in the same, it was a different scenario, but that's not the case right now. So the issue here is that what one does to retrieve data. If one uses tools and decryption keys, and if one is able to do that very well, if not, then I mean, whatever backups are there, use the same. But coming to the law, I mean, when you talk about the law aspect, then yes, introduction of any virus or any kind of malware, stealing of any data or encryption, or damaging to the particular data falls under Section 43 read with 66 of our IT Act, with a punishment of up to 3 years of imprisonment and fine as a criminal penalty. So that is something which can be invoked. Damages can be invoked if you know the person who's caused this. Then in that scenario, obviously it's easier than just filing a case against a particular IP address. Then the tracking happens, and you may or you may not be able to find who the person is. So that's also a civil case for claiming of damages. But both civil and criminal remedies lie. And if it's stealing of source code, for example, even source code has been stolen, 65 again of IT Act comes into play there. So there again, 3 years of punishment and fine is there. So that's how the law, the IT Act, takes a position on these issues. So it is up to ultimately the client what legal recourse he or she wishes to pursue, and then we take action based on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That brings me to the next question that I wanted to ask. Are we anywhere close? You are interacting with international stakeholders. Are we anywhere close to moving out from the bilateralism and multilateralism to get to somewhere near an international law on the cybersecurity? Whether it is accepting on the definition of cybercrime or anything related to cyber laws? Are we?
I've for long advocated we should be having a, being a party to the Cybercrime Convention. We are yet not there. As such, EU has a Cybercrime Convention, but India is not a signatory so far, and we need to do something more on that. There should be a policy, there should be a framework which India needs to call out to really be on the same ecosystem, because there are better cooperation mechanisms available with different countries being involved. Sometimes just having a bilateral treaty may not work, and the timelines for general bilateral treaties are very long, considering electronic evidence is involved or is in picture. Having a quicker timeline to respond is important from law enforcement point of view. Having a lesser red tapeism is also important, because so many procedural hurdles are there that getting to that final stage and getting the data is becoming a huge challenge for law enforcers. So that's how I view it, and we do need a sort of a consensus on definition of cybercrimes. What are those cybercrimes? A crime in a particular jurisdiction may not be a crime as per the definition of another country, and often we've seen that leads us to a lot of complications in terms of legal actions, because unless the two countries agree on this particular incident amounts to a crime, how can you think of getting data from that country? So that's something one really needs to understand and take note of.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Before we thank Dr. Karnika, anyone has any other question? She is available to us now. She is ready to answer. Please ask if you have any questions. Don't leave all the questioning to be done by me, otherwise it will appear as if it is a duel.
May I, sir?
Please.
I'm Group Captain Ashok. I've seen the draft of Personal Data Protection Bill, which is slated, which has been started from 2019, 20, 21, maybe. We will have it as an act in 2022. The draft has got 543 pages. So just on a lighter note, how do you read, understand, and contribute to the cause? It is such a huge document.
I understand. What we normally do when we make policies or comment on policies and have helped or contributed government is that first we read the summary note, because that summarizes the entire gist of the proposal. And often on their site, they have key suggestions or even comments of other parties. Those are helpful. But most of the policy documents, whether you see international documents or even India, they would have a short summary or executive summary initially, and then followed with detailed commentaries of every section that they're proposing. So in order to contribute, it is also important to see what area is being covered by that particular legislation being proposed, and where you are a stakeholder. So that, for example, if I were to look at policy, from law perspective, we have to look at the entire document. But if you're an industry leader or a security specialist, or from coming from, say, a law enforcement, police, or otherwise army, or any other quarters, you see the sections which apply to you in your area, and then comment, because you are well aware and seized of the issues which arise in your sector and your industry, and there is where your contribution will come from. So that's one of my suggestions. Rest is definitely, I agree that it's a very lengthy document, and sometimes you are not able to read the entire length. But I think this approach should help, because if you understand the entire broad perspective of the same and yet are able to see the area which pertains to you and then contribute, I think your contribution gets made.
Thank you, Dr. Singh.
She has given a shortcut to you. Anyone else? Anyone else has any question? No.
No.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karnika.
Thank you.
Very elaborate discussion we had and nicely presented. Thank you so much, first of all, taking out time. I know you're a very busy person. At short notice, you have accepted to come and speak to our participants. So nice of you, and it's been wonderful. It's been a great session. On behalf of all the participants, I thank you for this wonderful presentation, and we look forward to your association with ISAC in future also, in whatever way, so that we can probably benefit the community and the stakeholders can benefit from that.
I personally want to thank Isaac for this interaction. It has given many insights, and with each interaction that we have like this with stakeholders, the nation is built. So you're actually on the Army Day building your nation by doing this. I congratulate ISAC and all of the participants today and cohorts. I think I especially would like to thank you all for taking out time to listen to me and interact with me today, because each of you has a huge contribution to make. Whether you're just listening or you're asking questions, you're taking inputs which will help us to create a good robust ecosystem as a country. So we are there to handhold each other's in this whole exercise, and that's the reason of having such programs and initiatives. So thank you so much for this interaction, and I do look forward to interacting with you in the near future. Thank you.
It's very important that all of you are aware of the history of NSD and the background of it in a way to really appreciate or understand where it comes from and why the Scholar program has been created and what is the purpose of us doing this from last 10 years. So I'll just share my screen and share these insights with all of you just a moment. All right, so this basically is just to give you an understanding of where we come from. It's very important because now you're part of the database, and it's very essential for you to understand how it has started and what is the reason for that. So first of all, the main purpose of the database has been to identify very credible and trustworthy information security experts who can protect the Indian cyberspace. Now, so far the empanelment has been restricted to Indian citizens, but this year we are opening this to international citizens also, because cyberspace is one area where it has no borders, and there are people who contribute internationally as a community to this particular subject, and definitely everybody can benefit from such a kind of a database, not just India. So to give a brief timeline, it all actually began in the year 1998. It's almost 22 years back when we started a group called Innovative Ethical Hackers Association. They were loosely formed associations of all hackers in India to counter the Pakistani hacking groups at that point of time. And so Mumbai hackers, Calcutta hackers, you had so many other various groups. Each of them had more than 5,000-6,000 members across India, each groups. So this association was created by us, and when a lot of people joined, then it became a very formidable group in that year. As the group became stronger and stronger in the year 2005, a formal request was given by NTRO at that point of time to give a training on ethical hacking to them. And we formed a company called Orchid 7 and a certification called H3X. Now, Hex, if you all know, is also H3X is also referred as the goddess of hacking. If you don't are not aware of this, H3X symbolizes the goddess of hacking, and the certification was called H3X because we wanted to respect and pay our tribute to the beautiful world of hacking. And this certification was one of the first in kinds which had lab exams at that point of time. And there was another program called EC Council CEH, which became very popular during that point of time. And we were very upset with the fact that there was an online exam to declare hackers as certified ethical hackers, and which is when this STX program was created to just set up lab exams for it. Now, in the year 2009, just when the Mumbai attacks had happened, during just after that, the a young person, Shantanu Gavde, became India's youngest hacker at that point of time, and was facilitated by both Abdul Kalam and Pratibha Patil. And these are some news clippings of that. Now, when he was awarded by the presidents at that point of time, there was a person, Mr. M.S. Vijayaraghavan, who was working with Mr. Abdul Kalam in his team. And post this particular discussions and his appraisal of the STX program and the Ethical Hacker Association, he recommended that this group should be created within India as a formal structure, and it should not be a loosely held hackers group. And he joined as an advisor to NTRO at that point of time, working with Abdul Kalam, and he proposed this database to be formed. It was his brainchild, where he said, okay, why don't you form a formal database? And in 2010, we signed a MOU and with NTRO, and formal operations started with them using this database. This is because this is a closed group. I'm sharing this very openly, that the first operations under MI started using this group. There were key community leaders from Malcon, Nelcon, Cocoon, Clubhack. All the founders joined together, and under the ISAC, the NSD was created, and it was launched by Sachin Pilot. At that point of time, was IT minister. In the next year, Certain, who under the leadership of Gulshan Rai, formally extended support to NSD. And certain security operations from 2012 started for defending Indian cyberspace under NTRO. Now, in 2012, it was a groundbreaking year for us, when the US Army adopted the approach for exams for certifications internally using the NSD's proprietary method of evaluating people. And in 2012, the US Black Hat, they bought over Malcon under UBM, which I was running. In 2010, I started this event, and it became part of UBM formally in 2012. In 2012, the CIA formally proposed to NTRO to move the interception for Skype, which was created by our team, to be given to US for a license of $2 million. And the condition was to move ISAC to US and seize NSG operations in India. Of course, we were not comfortable with that idea, so we didn't go ahead with it. Then we proposed creating a large hackers conference called the Groundhog Summit. I don't know how many of you were actually aware of this, but this was started in 2013, and 5 other conference heads. Even today, we continue to do our own independent events, like Cocoon still continues, Nelcon still continues. Clubhack obviously is no longer operational now. So 2013, this event, all 5 people combined to start Groundhog Summit. And then the US Black Hat proposed that why don't we at least sponsor it, if nothing else. So in 2014, the Groundhog Summit was taken to Sri Lanka, and profiling of international hackers started under the project. And in 2015, finally, it was agreed that UBM would be allowed to sponsor Groundhog Summit. Now, the big problem was that how do we rate people who are working for the community? How do we rate hackers? Because they are double-edged swords. So a program called Clean Exit on Ethics was launched as a pilot to rate the developers and the hackers at that time. And the first scholar program was actually piloted as the NSD Fellowship in OP Jindal University along with NTRO, to counter the influence of the Chevening scholarship from the UK government, because a whole lot of scholars who go for Chevening, there has been a great effort by the UK, and we really appreciate the way the Chevening program has been structured. We really love the way in which they have taken the initiative, and definitely while it mandates and focuses on making the UK government having a soft approach in all the countries where its business interest is protected, it was very important that not everybody is sold off to such kind of a concept. And for us, it was very bothersome that someone who has ruled India for so many years, and people are joining the scholarships left and right without giving a second thought to the soft implications of it. The scholar program was created as a counter program to ensure that the Indian CISOs also have an equal footing and same quality knowledge, if not better, in a way in which we can do something like that. So with NTRO, the pilot started in Open University, and the first formal attempt was made to identify the guardians across all the CIIs. And 2017 onwards, certain categories of NSD started becoming open as a database, which means that anybody could access the database and see the scholars or the people behind it. Formally in 2018, the Tata Group has been very generous with ISAC, and they sponsored more than 2.5 crores year on year to just conduct the Defender Flag series, and they gave us the access to the entire Taj group of hotels across India at a very nominal price. In fact, it was literally free for us, where we could host these events for the sake of the CISOs to be trained in critical activities of how to do the tendering in the right manner, how to not give away to vendors outside the country in a manner which will compromise the security. And all the series in Defender Flag series was started in collaboration with NCIPC. Eventually, it became part of Certain also, where Certain did a lot of events with us in Defender Flag series. 2020, formally, this was the fellowship program was renamed as the Scholar Program, and this was launched with MDI Gurgaon, the first cohort, formally after the pilot. The second cohort was launched with NCIPC, and the third was launched with RRU. Now we are launching the Lancer category again to identify the meaningful contributors. Lancer has a historical significance. The Lancer word, obviously, they were critical. They were part of the Mysore Maharaja's palace, and this particular word has a significance over there, and it also has a connection with Israel in terms of liberating them during the Haifa war. So along with the Karnataka government, we have entered into collaboration to start the Lancer category in Karnataka. Specifically, it will extend to all the scholars, to all the NSD categories, but it's a new category which has started. Now, there are various certifications from ISAC, which we do as a professional program, and it's a first certification from the cybersecurity certifications from India. It's a Made in India program, and we try to make sure that we are no less than the global certification programs. In fact, we make sure that we work a little more harder because we know that a lot of people will scrutinize us with more depth. So, sorry about that. So here, there are certain certification programs that we conduct, and these programs are something that are in line with the international business requirements. So there are various categories like offensive security, forensics, industrial security, management and intervention, which we conduct. And based on certain categories, the database has certain levels, like the intervention officers. For all of you who have done the CCI program, it's a program which is responsible to support the lowest of the state levels for reducing cyber crimes. Cadets are those categories of people who have passed a theory exam. It is similar to the EC Council, CEH, or any online exam that people do internationally. But those are cadets for us, junior resources who can work in cybersecurity but are not dependent for hands-on hardcore activities. Falcons are very technical people. They have passed a 24-hour lab exam or more. They are very competent in executing very specific cybersecurity activities, and they are very special people within NSD. The Guardians are people with 5+ years of experience. Lancers, again, this year we're going to launch for experts in outstanding contribution to the country in cybersecurity. They'll be awarded with the Lancer category. The Scholars are senior leadership programs. It's a program for senior leadership who are responsible to manage and drive cybersecurity initiatives at any level within their organizations or for the country also. Right now, for all Falcons who are required to operate, there is a mandatory security clearance which they have to take by passing a psychometric testing. And this psychometric testing will check for a lot of activities about their personalities, including what kind of people they are. Are they pretending to be a good people, but they are not in depth? Can they break under bribe? All these parameters are checked for every single NSG professional who comes under this particular category. And then a report is created for the management so that they can understand at what level this person is and can they be trusted with sensitive security operations or not. And this becomes a part of the NSD's reporting before they are given some confidential assignments. Now, this is used by a lot of companies as a strategy for hiring very senior people in cybersecurity and take it forward. Again, the certification process for technical exams is very different. They have to undergo a certain research work and an online exam, followed by a lab exam and a psychometric test before they are awarded the Falcon category. So these are again, categories of security clearances that we provide internally. From last 10 years, it has matured. For example, those who get the level 0 credibility, they get to work with police stations for cybercrime cases. Those with L1 category are allowed to work with state intelligence agencies. Those with L2 can work for intelligence agencies and can be, assigned sensitive operations. L3 and L4 are again more serious programs, and they need psychometric testing for every assignments, and a reference is required before they are engaged for operations. Now, these are the clearance levels that the internally is awarded to the NSG professionals before they are engaged on any sensitive projects, right? Again, these are some these are confidential MOUs that we have, like one with NTRO or with certain. Now, moving forward, this Clean Exit program is another beautiful project that enhances the credibility of the NSG professionals. So this is a kind of a rating sheet. It's like a CIBIL score for the cybersecurity engineers in your company. Any kind of ethical violations can be reported by the senior management, and they get a CIBIL-like scoring, where under 500 marks if they get, then automatically their job opportunities are reduced. We inform a lot of companies and we collaborate with them to make sure that people with low scores don't get critical roles, right? So it's a very mature process that has been that has been developed over the years. And the beautiful part is that every engineer who from NSD who goes to work in a company is given a financial guarantee of 1 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees from Isaac Foundation to that company. For example, if an IBM picks up a guy under NSD, then they are given a credit of 1 lakh to 5 lakh rupees as a financial guarantee from Isaac, which means that tomorrow if IBM reports that this guy has engaged in an ethical violation and it has been a problem for me because he has done an activity which has resulted in a financial loss to me, then that money to that company will be paid by Isaac because the NSD professional did some mistake over there. Now, how do we do it? We are backed by Oriental Insurance for this, and we have a back-to-back agreement with the insurance company, and this is a very unique program and the only one in the world which has this kind of arrangement for this. So again, we have some collaborations, and this is what overall the NSD does. What I would like to share is the list of programs that are there under the NSD. These are the 26 different certifications that we have. We would love to share this with all of you, and definitely we will need a lot of help in ensuring that these programs are promoted and are well known in the community also. For example, here you can see here that if you see the Pentester program here,
your slide is not visible, Raj.
It's not visible. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I switched the screen sharing and then it got one second. Is it visible now?
Yes, we can see that.
Yeah. So the Pentester program, if you see here, the theory exam for Pentester is equivalent to the industry standard of EC Council, where you have an MCQ based test. However, the lab exam that we do for 24 hours, there is only one company in the world which does something similar. In fact, the pen testing from NSD for lab exam is even better than this company. It is Offensive Security, which is the OSCP certification, and the PEN 300 program, which is offered by the Offensive Security team. They're the only company in the world which does something very close to NSD's program. But for all of the programs, apart from pen testing and one in SOC analysis, all the other exams from NSD for labs, there is no other company in the world which does the lab exams similar to what the NSD exams do. For example, the Scholar program, almost 60% of the syllabus is more or less, covered under CISSP to a certain level. But the Scholar program dwells more, it's more current and more emerging. Of course, the role of CISSP is a little different, but the syllabus more or less is touching upon to what scholars undergo in the domain knowledge specifically, right? But there is no lab equivalent for it or the hands-on industry visits that we provide. And the same way, we have certain unique programs which are focused on sector specific, like the aviation security, for example. These are very unique programs which are not there, but are designed by Isaac to address the problems in that domains specifically. So what we definitely would request the scholars, the last slide which I'll share from my side is that since you're part of this community today, we definitely would need a whole lot of support in the visibility of the NSD certifications from all of you. We don't have the kind of the budget that large US companies have in promoting the certifications in a very big way worldwide. But still, we feel that with the right support from people like you, we will be in a position to at least make people more aware of the quality of the exams and the certification process. And we request that if you're handling jobs in your company, at least if you're putting a job description for hiring, if you're putting a CEH, EC Council in your job description for hiring, we would definitely request you to also put NSD equivalent certifications along with it, so that at least the people who pursue the career from an Indian certification get an opportunity to also apply for the same jobs and become part of the ecosystem. We would also request if you can look at the Clean Exit program as part of a company culture, which means that if you're hiring developers, if you're hiring regular people, if you're hiring security researchers, at least please put them on the Clean Exit ethics program and take advantage of the financial guarantee that we provide. make it part of your company culture. It's a very unique program, and there is nothing like this elsewhere in the world. Definitely, it will be a value addition to your company. We definitely would request also you to consider use of the virtual labs for upskilling your cybersecurity teams. And if you're paying a lot of money for certifications outside and expecting them to clear an online MCQ based 50 questions or 100 questions on a Prometric testing center and expecting them to perform job operations, I would definitely recommend that you will be much better off with having your new recruits having the skills of virtual labs with hands-on practicals and bundled certifications for their careers. And because we issue the certifications for companies who have a separate plan, for example, if you're hiring 10 engineers in pen testing, you can sponsor their certifications, and if they leave the company within 1 year, you can also revoke it by collaborating with Isaac, which means that they are motivated to continue working with your company for at least a year or 18 months before they switch their careers. So there are some value adds that we can provide as a foundation to motivate people to be retained in a company and also upskill them in a better manner. Also, as a scholar, we would definitely humbly request all of you that you all have a fantastic network and have fantastic thought process. So if you can extend your network to facilitate the CSR funding and help us to make the reach of our programs better, or also supporting the enhancement of the scholar program by setting up industry visits. For example, today we have a collaboration with our esteemed partner, GMR. They have been very kind to support us for the airport visit, and similarly for the power plant visit. And we will also be doing a data center visit with support of Tata Communications very soon. However, any more visits from the scholars to extend and benefit the other future scholars, it will be a great help from all of you. So with this, I'll just end my session. If you have any thoughts on what I just shared and what I just discussed, please feel free to openly share it. So we'll be very happy to take the feedback, and we'll seriously work on it to improve what we have been doing so far. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I just have to make a small announcement to make to all the scholars that next month we are launching the Breachpoint bug bounty hunting platform officially. Now, this is part of our concentrated effort from last 2 years in consolidating all the bug bounty hunters in India. And this is one of a kind platform that we are launching to, ensure that the companies who are part of, handling cybersecurities or are actually concerned about cybersecurity networks are able to use this platform in their own methods to secure their environments, especially the Indian companies. So here I'll just share also the similar platform that we did for the Indian Army here. What we did was that, so this is a similar lab exam that we do for the Falcons. This environment that we built. A similar platform was built for the Indian Army for the CTF for level 3, where a complete Windows environment, Active Directory based environment was built, a firewall was set up. There was a threat intelligence coming in, semantic patch management, standard quick heal on the endpoints, your DMZ zones with servers put up, a database server, and similar environment where people will access the network remotely or VPN. This environment was what was introduced for the Indian Army Hackathon for level 3, and in which we introduced around 12 enterprise challenges where they had to compromise the Windows enterprise environment, including hacking the Active Directory environment and exploit, before they can move to the 14 chain vulnerabilities that they had to exploit and finish the challenge. So this is an example of what Isaac has done for the hackathon, but this is something that we do day in, day out for the labs that we provide for the students who do the Falcon levels. And on the same lines, we are launching the bug bounty platform. And to do this, what we have been doing is we have been doing this very specific program called the Bug Bounty Hunter program. And I request all the scholars to please participate in this course. It's free for all of you. But I'm very happy to say that we have now over 1,000 bug bounty researchers certified by Isaac across India. We have crossed the 1,000 mark. And these researchers are in a position to actually help a lot of companies in mundane activities, right from VAPT to other R&D work. But most important, Isaac as a foundation receives over 150 monthly submissions on vulnerabilities across India from researchers, and this is now growing day by day. We receive vulnerabilities from so many researchers every month that the bug bounty platform that we are launching, we hope that a lot of companies will benefit from this initiative. So my request to all the scholars is that you are aware of HackerOne platform. You are aware of the international bug bounty platforms which are there, and will be humbly, suggesting and requesting all of you that if you can consider working with Indian bug bounty platform like us, that will be supporting you in finding problems within your own organizations and doing it at much better manner in which what these platforms provide. So it's a very early stage today where we are beginning it, and we definitely will need all the support. But this is something that we have got a commitment from large companies already, especially from large companies like L&T, Infosys, and similar large organizations. Through our partners, we have got commitments from them to support us in this initiative and start hosting their critical applications for bug bounty hunting from the researchers in India. So this is on the longer run much cheaper than VAPT or any such assignment that you do for your company, and we'll be very happy if you can also look at providing internships to the bug bounty researchers who are passing out from colleges and getting certified under NSD to work with you and your company. And for example, recently we have given 12 engineers to Deloitte, and the feedback has been outstanding for their technical competency. Similarly, there are a lot of other large companies where we supply candidates based on their technical skills. So especially on the bug bounty part, we'll be very happy if your organizations can be kind enough to partner with us in collaborating and taking this platform forward. So that's all I wanted to share from my side. Thank you.
Could you just show one or two slides of the lab that we have, Center of Excellence that we have established in Indonesia or CIT RAS?
Yes, I'll just share one.
And also a quick glimpse of the virtual labs that we have, Cyber Range virtual labs, just the numbers and how does it look, the dashboard?
So if you see here, my screen, this is a login page for the virtual labs online. And if you go here, at this stage, there are 502 labs which are there. So for example, if I have to train someone on bug bounty platform, then these are the various labs on easy, medium, high, that categories I can do, right? Now, for example, if we have to practice some kind of lab, what we do is that we go to any particular lab that we want, and then we start the lab. And what happens is that once you start the lab on the page, you can see that the target is given to the student, what they have to complete. When I start the lab on the backend, automatically the virtual machines are being spawned, and you get a full-fledged Kali machine where you'll be able to access the entire tools for hacking completely on the cloud. You don't have to download anything. And you also have a full desktop version of Kali where you can start attacking the target machine that you're given to hack. So as you can see here, I already have a full-blown Kali OS with me right now, and I can start going about practicing my labs very easily in cybersecurity. The target is given over here also, and the victim machine also is given to the sample with just a dummy page, and they can hack into this particular system and do it. Once they complete it, they have to complete the answer over here by submitting the answer over here. They get a XP point for this. The solution is also given over here. And if you don't want to see the video, but just the steps to copy paste the commands, you can also do that by doing the solution tab over here. Now there is also an interview mode, which means that if you're interviewing students or candidates for cybersecurity jobs in your company, you can use the platform to just take this, turn off the solution modes. There is a white label solution available for your companies. So for example, Canara Bank is using this right now for their SOC team to upskill their entire team on cybersecurity using this platform. And you can also do interviews using this with your own company logos and identify very good candidates who can work for your company, right? So this is just one example of the labs. So physical labs, I'll share pictures separately. At this moment, I don't have the, it's on a different machine I'm sitting in, so I don't have those pictures of the digital lab, but I'll share it separately to all of you separately, how it looks like.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, while we are speaking, one of our partners in US who is supplying services and products to DoD is also using our labs, these virtual labs. It's possible to white label, it's possible to show your own brand, like say, for example, an institution is using it or a company is using it, the company's brand will show when the lab is being used by them. There are different levels, difficulty levels varying. There are different tracks which are there. 503 as actually are the labs today, and we have another 150 undergoing the various tests ready for uploading. So our target is by 31st March, we would have close to 1,000. That's the target. And these are the kind of virtual labs we have. Thank you very much, Raj, for that.
Raj, sir, Naidu sir, is it okay? This is Bala. Can I say something?
Please go ahead, Bala. Please go ahead, Bala.
Raj, thank you very much. It was very insightful. And I'm very ashamed to say that, okay, in India we have, sorry, sir, because I'm not aware of that, okay, we have such a program and everything available. And as Naidu sir knows that, okay, I came to know through my professors in Israel that, okay, you please join this course, and they are doing a lot of work. So I'm also very happy to see that, okay, we have many, resources available, but we are not aware of this. And so I fully understand that, okay, this is people like us, the cohorts and the classmates and the previous one, to advertise and being the evangelist or the brand ambassador for ISAC. Definitely, I will do that, such a work. And also, Raj, you mentioned that, okay, about some of the labs which are better than offensive security. For your kind information, just 1 week ago, I joined offensive security by paying around $300 to $3,000. Okay, which I cannot, revert back. So this I should have known 1 week ago, but it's okay. But Naidu sir, my request to you is, you mentioned about a lot of labs available in ISAC. Please let us know what is there, so that, even if it is paid service, I will try to take it, and also I can advertise this to all my friends, okay, because I'm getting a lot of query about ISAC as well as my studies about the cybersecurity. So please give us more information about what ISAC is doing, so that that can be advertised. And also, I'll be definitely in my future employment, which I'm going to take it from next month. Okay, if there is something comes up on cybersecurity, the first contact will be ISAC. For any, for example, resource availability and all. Definitely, I'll do that. And this looks very impressive. And there are many charming points, which definitely I will take a note, and I will keep in touch, as an alumni of this course. And this really looks very impressive. And this particular session, my only feedback is, I said that we should have this particular session from Raj in the first class itself, rather than in the last session. So please have it as a first session in the next batch when you are having it. Thank you very much, Raj. Very impressive, and proud of what ISAC is doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Bala. In fact, we are a little shy of publicity from our own side. So we have been word of mouth publicity only has been happening. Like you said, yes, I think we need to go a little more on that. We will do it definitely. And a couple of more people also have asked for presentation on virtual labs. We have planned an elaborate presentation on both virtual labs as well as Hyacinth, the management training tool that we have. It's again our own tool. The virtual labs again are our own. Like I said, the cyber physical systems lab that we have a patent in Australia, and the Australian partner who has seen us execute our project in Indonesia despite corona restrictions, 14 days of quarantine. Anyone who has traveled from here, they had to be quarantined for 14 days. Despite that, we handed over and completed the project well before the time, and he was amazed at the way we have, many people could not travel. We had to send surplus, substitutes and all that. Despite that, we could do it. What happens, Bala, is we are, a typical cybersecurity organization. We don't, we are not happy being seen in flocks. We are happy delivering the things. So that's where probably we have to probably have a face, separate face, and scholars. What better face than scholars for us to be able to reach out to people and improve the visibility. That's what we think. And like you said, yes, if our program is being discussed in Israel, we are very proud of the fact that it's being discussed. But like you said, yes, we are a little unhappy on the fact that despite it being discussed in Israel, here it's a little difficult task to propagate, because I think it's there in us to go for anything foreign. Many ethical hackers, CEH people, come for our penetration testing and they fail, and they fail, and they fail, and then they pass, because they fail first because they're very complacent, thinking, oh no, this is another of those exams, we can hack it. And they fail second time because they don't practice labs, they appear early, and then the realization dawns on them that, look, this is serious businessman, and that is when they pass. Not that we have any intervention that we do to fail anyone who is coming after CH or things like that. So we would definitely strive to maintain the standards and improve the standards with your help. Thank you very much, Bala, for that wonderful suggestion that you gave. We will do that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Naidu, so one more thing I want to add is, okay, Raj mentioned about the security clearance. Okay, that is also an added advantage to the companies, because when some of my companies, okay, which I've been talking to, or the friends, some of my friends, they also have some kind of a hesitation whether this guy is really ethical hacker, or he's mischievous, or he has any other intention. So when NSD and ISAC can give some kind of a security clearance, okay, that added, and also along with 18 months of your job, kind of, he will be staying in that organization for 12 to 18 months. That gives additional, peace of mind.
Comfort, yes.
These are the things definitely I think we should advertise, and definitely I'm from a corporate field, worked in a corporate, so definitely I can pass on this information to many of my friends whenever I meet, or I can tell them. And this is really very impressive. And thanks a lot, Naidu sir and Raj, for this. And very, very good that I'm part of this organization.
Thank you. Thank you. You are a cohort now, and it's just the beginning of a long, long, long journey, Bala. All of you are part of this whole movement to be able to be self-sufficient and see if we can contribute in a bigger way as far as the cyberspace protection is concerned. Thank you very much, Bala.
Great pleasure. I have known Naidu sir for many years, but as ADG from the UIDI, it was a nice opportunity to actually share. And I've been following this course. I'm also a CCIO from ISAC, but the way this course has been conducted is quite commendable. I mean, being part of the largest cybersecurity fraternity in India, I feel that I will be an ambassador within UIDI to bring you out and have a formal introduction of the ISAC to the UIDI, because we require that. And I'm really impressed by the material and the flow which was done through this course. Though I should have joined it long time back, I regret for that, but still it is a wonderful experience and a journey of these 14-15 weeks which we have had. And I hope I have been able to give in my inputs to enrich people who are part of this course, because I also carry a lot of domain expertise and knowledge in terms of the cybersecurity by virtue of being part of the Aadhaar. And even I'll be available, even if it is for the next subsequent courses. You can use my facilities, whatever is my knowledge. And I'm very grateful to Naidu sir and Raj. In fact, I have been lazy on enrolling in the previous courses, and this time Naidu sir had insisted that I should join. I'm grateful to you, sir, in one personal capacity. And Raj, thank you for all the endeavor. I know it is not easy conducting and coordinating such a big venture. And last but not the least, The voices are heard about ISAC all across India now, and I'm sure you will grow from multiple bounds from here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. In fact, Colonel Koshi, we have been in touch for a long time, and in different levels also, a lot of inputs keep coming from him. I keep calling up once a while to ask what is happening on these fronts. Very forthcoming, despite handling very sensitive matters in UIDA. Huge responsibilities, but he takes time out to help us. Thank you very much, Colonel Koshi. It's been wonderful journey, and I'm sure we would move forward and take it forward. Thank you so much.
Yeah, actually, sir, I am from the corporate world. So the facility that I have seen from Raj, I am agree with the Bala that presentation should be in the first day, because I am facing some challenging in cyber physical world in our domain, because we have one of the biggest manufacturer in India, and I am now doing that automation industrial 4.0 for our company. So I am facing the challenge, and I need your help for that. Because whenever I'm giving you the practical examples, when I face the different OEM, they pitch their product, and that is a challenge for any corporate world, because the product will come with the point solutions. We need the comprehensive solution for our factory or for our organizations. So I need your collaborations for that. I will offline, I will contact you for how I will proceed. And the second part is that the learning, we learn the every aspect, like from the cyber law to the penetration to the, so you have in this course you have touched every points that is required to run a cyber security framework in any organization. So I'm thankful to you, sir, to put in my efforts in this, and I get great knowledge from that. And I will try to implement for our organization, because if our organization develop, the India will develop, because we are the company from India only. So that's my submission.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Amit. Yes, you have been part of the CCI. I know how much of work you have been doing out there, regularly. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ramki, would you like to say something?
Yes, sir. First of all, Jai Hind, and festival wishes to all of you. Absolutely, I have thoroughly enjoyed the program right from the get-go. Karthik has been extraordinary in his detailed and very patient explanation of every aspect of the topics that he has covered so far. So a very big thanks to the entire ISAC team. I can't thank you enough. It has been lot of enlightening topics being covered, and in great detail, which is the broad spectrum of topics which are being covered also is equally important. It's not just getting too deep into one specific aspect, keeping the wide nature of audience in mind. The course curriculum has been designed in such a way that it covers a very wide range, and kudos to ISAC team for that. So very well designed, extremely well executed. Thank you so much. In terms of feedback, it's not a critical feedback. I just want to present my views, humble views on this, is that I think the war game was very useful, very good. I think those Thursday exercises first few weeks extremely helpful. I would be, if I were to attend a similar kind of program again, I would want to see more experiential learning. That is one thing that I would really love to do, because at the end of the program, what I think ISAC wants, as well as the participants would like to see, is they are able to take something to heart and be able to implement that as much as possible in their individual professions, whether they are part of the government, army, or part of corporate sector. So experiential learning, if it is a little higher than what we have seen, I think that will be extremely good. That is one small suggestion from my end. And the other thing is with respect to again, in terms of the broad spectrum, a lot of topics have been covered, which is extremely important. But at the same time, I felt that certain topics like forensics and other things might not, because again, I think you have done a great job of balancing it with respect to incoming inputs also. So some topics suddenly you might have picked up. So maybe what is the demand in the market, or in terms of taking care in terms of criticality of the issues that are happening. Like for example, Nitish ji was just saying that he has lost money, and trying to do forensics and trying to identify the sources of the issues. Maybe that is not the most relevant example, but in general, right? What are the largest sources? How do all participants be more active in solving these kind of things? In every angle, which kind of ties back to the previous point that I was making, is from an experiential point in all topics. I think that is what I would like to reiterate and say. But overall, I have been extremely happy with the program, and again, thanks, a very big thanks to the entire ISAC team for this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramki. I have just one input on that.
Yeah, please, Raj.
So, Ramki, the interesting thing about the Scholars program is that every program from ISAC for all scholars is free of cost. What it means is that there is a program on pen testing, there's a program on forensics, there's a program on threat hunting or SOC security. Whenever it is scheduled online from ISAC on the calendar, a scholar can simply request access to the program and attend it without paying a single rupee. So one of the reasons why we do this is because we understand that scholars need to be updated with the latest technologies and also be aware of so many domains in cybersecurity at the same time. Not maybe they may not require to master those domains, but they must know enough so that the vendors don't take them for a ride and the employees don't take them for a ride. At least they should know enough to manage their own job in a better manner. So what I would also recommend is that there is a calendar from ISAC on not only forensics, but also on other domains. Across the year, we do this. If you feel there is a domain where more time needs to be spent, in fact, I would urge you to come forward and pick up the domains of your interest, and we'll be very happy to facilitate sessions for you on that additionally. And again, as a scholar, you have all access to the entire ISAC Foundations end to end, which means that whenever you call up, whenever you have a request for certain activity, you are a big priority for us. So I would request an sir to share the calendar also with Ramki, and
we will share with all the cohorts.
Exactly.
Yes, Raj. And as I sent a mail also earlier, when we launched the governance program, I reiterated also that any program that we conduct, unless it is outsourced to someone out completely, all the programs that we offer are free for the scholars. We have already got 10 nominations, 10 applications for the governance program. That is what we set the limit because it's a little high-end program. So 10 people have already volunteered to come and join this cybersecurity governance program. By the way, the cybersecurity governance program that Raj has not briefed when he was briefing on various courses, it's one of the finest programs that we have got. Where there are tools used, whereas other programs which are costing 2.5, 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, are not using any tools. Similarly, there is a program which is for the very basics. We want the entry-level students to come and join the program. A couple of people have said we would like to start from there. We said, fine, why not? You are scholars for us. You start whichever program you want to pick and join. Please come and join anytime. Only thing, you just tell us in advance so that if the program dates, I can accommodate accordingly. Similarly, there are some programs where the number of people who can be handled by the instructor, because our programs are live. Unlike other programs from some other organizations, our programs are live instructor-driven programs. We would like to have that one-to-one learning because our instructors take a lot of pride and interest in making sure that things are learned properly. So please let us know in advance. Like Raj said, yes, we are open and we would be happy. I would tell you that from the MOD, Defense Cyber Agency, I won't mind naming because you are all confidential people. Defense Cyber Agency, top people have joined the bug bounty researcher program, which is for the basic level. Bug bounty researcher program. Trust me, the kind of energy they brought, very senior people, the kind of energy they brought onto the table is phenomenal. phenomenal energy we brought. Like kids, they were, brigadiers, commodores, and air commodores and all. Like children, they were, engaging with the other participants and the instructor. It was a great experience for us also, for ISAC also. So we would continue to, do that forever. You are forever a scholar for ISAC, and you are forever entitled to learn whatever we have, or teach us. Please come and share your knowledge. If you think that you have a certain expertise, please share it with us and share it with the community, share it with the people. Let the stakeholders benefit. Thank you very much. Thank you. That suggestion is well taken. Yeah, I think Harjeet has. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, sir. Just to conclude, I must have to say that I cannot thank Isaac enough for providing these. Everybody knows, clearly in the corporate world, that how expensive these courses is. Equivalent courses are there, in several thousands of dollars. So I don't think there is any doubt about the quality, and we should be extremely thankful to Isaac for providing this free of cost for scholars. And definitely it's a very big blessing. I was taking forensics as just an example. In fact,
no, your point well taken, Ramki. We are not arguing on any of your suggestions. They're well taken. We would be.
That was just great that you are providing all of this free. So once again, I'm really proud that I was part of this cohort, and very big thanks to Isaac once again.
Thank you, Ramki. Harpreet has unmuted his mic and video. I think he wants to say something. Because he has not been saying much during the sessions, I will please request Harpreet to say something.
Thank you, sir. In fact, for last couple of sessions, I was not able to attend. Frankly, the holiday season and the new year beginning of the organization took me away. I mean, that is just something which December is kind of crazy for corporate people. Either they will be busy in getting the budgets aligned for next year, or there will be Christmas holidays where we have to take the kids out, and that becomes a challenge to be part of such a exhaustive learning. Basically, I could have joined on mobile, but then I wouldn't have done justice to the knowledge which was being shared, the kind of active listening which somebody has to do to get the gist of the whole program. So overall, it was a great experience for me. I am a software developer and delivery manager. This is the first time I'm attending a cybersecurity program, and I can say it was a jumpstart for me into a completely different world, and it has helped me a lot in talking to my team, discussing the problems which we face day in, day out while doing the software development also. And looking forward, I just hope that this cohort will be active. As everybody is suggesting that we will be in touch, we will support each other, and make sure that we contribute to the ISAC movement in a very active way, not just using it for our own thing, but giving back to this cohort community, and ISAC also grows with that. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Harpreet. And Harpreet has already connected us to his management, and we are in touch with the management for a couple of things. Thank you very much, Harpreet. We would be continuing to engage. Grupi Ashok has unmuted. May I request Grupi Ashok to please speak?
Hi, sir. Hi. After Tendulkar and Sehwag have played, very little is left for the tailenders.
No, but there are no tailenders in this scholar, and cybersecurity is about everyone.
I fully echo what Bala and others have brought out. In fact, Raj, what he covered today, वो कहते हैं ना कि में छोरा शहर में ढिंडोरा. We keep looking outwards. We don't even know that such and such, despite being a CCIO, despite having gone through that CCIO course, even my knowledge of ISAC conducting these kind of courses, which are equivalent to OSCP and EC Council. EC Council is way behind. EC Council, I've known the people who have just taken the certificate. I don't want to talk much about EC Council certificates. They're just a piece of cake for a very little serious student. But this actually had opened our eyes on, like, OT nobody covers, right? The law portion, what Dr. Bal Singh Rajput covered, nobody touches upon it. The war games which we just had, let's say it is better. So the exposure which this course has given, it's uncomparable to anyone. And I am connected with so many CIOs and CISO for corporate. I would love to give them this. I'll request if a presentation what Raj gave today, if it could be arranged for them.
We will.
And
We will.
And during research, UGC have introduced research and professional ethics program recently. So we were having early morning before this session, I was having my RP class. So I spoke to the teacher, professor of ours. I told him, sir, such and such program exists for even the undergraduates. He said, we don't even know. So even if I can connect to one of the universities, it's a very prestigious university in Rajasthan. We can, I love to be, I would have done my part as a cohort if I can get this word of mouth spread.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Grupyasha. About
Thanks
the
for the wonderful experience in this course.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You have been into this field for a long time. We respect your word, and from ISAC, of course, we have been in touch for as CCIO or otherwise also. Thank you so much, and you are into serious work in this field. As far as the professional ethics is concerned, very unfortunate, but you know what? The clean exit pool, the process has a joint initiative between AICT and ISAC. It has come into existence as a company. Otherwise, we were having it as part of ISAC always. But when we went to AICT nudged us, and that's how we created an entity separate. And trust me, 20th November 2019 was the date when AICT has written to all the universities, all the AICT affiliated institutions, that this is the program. They have got a project known as SPICES, under which SPICES is for promotion of innovation, creativity, and ethics. The institutions are supposed to create ethics clubs. We said we are ready to create. It's all there in the AICT website. Any student wanting to apply for AICT internships, one question mandatorily asked is, are you trained in professional ethics? If not, the site leads to our website, Clean Exit website. But nobody, people still say they don't know. What do we do? I mean, there's something absolutely wrong with our system, where AICT as a regulator is saying it is a joint initiative. You please encourage all your students to be part of this movement to create culture of ethics, professional ethics at workplace. And after 2.5 years also, we are still hearing that they don't know. I mean, what do we do? We can only thing that we can do is go the Western way, where pump money to publicize these things, which we are not in a position to do. We don't want to do also. Word of mouth, I think, is doing pretty well, and we would request you to continue to do that. Thank you very much, Ashok.
Thank you, sir. We'll do that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, and thanks to ISAC team. An excellent course. For me, it was a great learning. I'll say that I'm, as far as cybercrime is concerned, I consider myself an LKG student. A long way to go at the beginning. I was teaching criminology, incidentally, in the National Police Academy. I think perhaps you know about it. And to our people, I take a session regularly called From Cattle Theft to Cybercrime. So we've seen that transition in the police investigations. Not just about 30, 40 years ago, people were talking only about crop theft or cattle theft or that kind of a thing, which is from there we have moved on to cyber crimes now. And the other side, I say, from both and as weapon master. So that's the kind of a transition that is taking place. So cybercrime, you see, it's a weapon of mass destruction. It can be, if somebody chooses, or it can be the other thing also. I mean, theft of the invisible money, whatever, which is there right now. So I'm, as a police officer, definitely, and as somebody working in the corporates, and now definitely I know the implications of the cybercrime. It's increasing. Everybody is aware of that. There's a nice, excellent book called The Future. Some of you would have a police officer from US. It gives a frightening scenario, the future, particularly based on the cyber crimes that's evolving. Everybody has to learn about cybercrime. So it's definitely, and of course, as you know, JMR and RUX are part of ISAC. So definitely we'll be working together on quite a lot of things, initiatives to spread this awareness and to whatever we can do for the cybercrime thing. And as a police officer, former police officer, and definitely I would like to get us more with all cybercrime initiatives. I've done more. I will be part of all the courses that you conduct, Isaac, I can assure you that. And in my personal capacity also, in whatever manner I can support, definitely I'll do. Karthik did an excellent job. I must say, a fantastic person. I think earlier I met him, but I never realized his depth of knowledge and other things. Only now I came to know after attending the course, and the entire ISAC team has done a fantastic job. A lot to learn, but a good beginning for me. Thank you so much for all the things, opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for kind words. A very experienced person in crimes, otherwise as a senior police officer, and also into very senior positions, heading GMR, Hyderabad Airport, and places like that. Now Raksha Academy. We are collaborating, yes, sir, and we are doing a lot of things. While we are speaking, we are into very many things, including the VAPT and other things as a service also. Thank you very much for your kind words.
Thank
also,
you.
yes, together we will definitely work towards making the aviation sector cyber protected to the large extent in India as well as across the world. That's for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Anand and Karthik, and should say Raj and the entire team. I'm AVM Suresh. Wish you all a happy Makara Sankranti and happiness to all of you. I was part of the previous cohort, and it's a privilege when Anand called me and saying today is going to be the wind-up session to participate. In fact, that 13-week long education, I should call, was I think my 2 decades of an experience on UAVs and into the cyber domain. We thought we know about it, but the 13 weeks after that said you hardly know about 5 or 10%, and there's a lot to learn. And in fact, I've been working along with ISAC, probably more through Naidu, and actually. Because of the background of being in UAVs for 2 decades, I thought we'd start working along with them on the cybersecurity aspects of the UAVs. With the new government policy coming in to play, where the new 2.1 regs which have come from the DGCA, the next 5 to 10 years is going to be a fantastic opportunity for all operators and companies and every user. And it's going to be on every street and every part. But it's just like the way the cell phones and the computers are, and that domain is going to be will face issues with cyber securities and like what Shastriji was talking about in the cyber crimes, and more so affecting our aviation industry and other parts of it, and citizens' privacy and the works. And ISAC has been in the forefront identifying the major areas of concern for UAVs operating in the cyber domain. and would like to continue to work on them. And I think there's so many experts in the group, and once in a while I keep joining. It's fantastic to see. I call it the rainbow soldiers of the cybersecurity domains, with everyone speaking on a specific part, and finally we weave into a fine, what I call, I'm running short of words, but weave into a fine cybersecurity domain for our nation. And I think all of us can do a lot of hand holding together. Like what Anand was talking about is like every person who comes out of it, who graduates out of this particular course, would likes to get associated more and more with them. That's how you get addicted to what Karthik, especially when he starts teaching, or when Raj tells about his fantastic history, a journey from close to a decade and a half to where we have reached. And we are glad to be part of you, Anand and Isaac. And I wish everyone to be and continue the same journey. Happy Sankranti to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Suresh. Rajiv, you may please go.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. First of all, I have to thank Isaac team, Anand sir, and Karthik for this wonderful course. And first of all, I have to say, like many people were highlighting about points related to pen testing forensics. I would mainly say this course was a course which was meant to some senior people who would like to have a knowledge on various industry sectors instead of getting specialized in some particular area. And I have to say, who has made this syllabus, I don't know, but they have covered almost all the industries and sectors at a higher level, where they would have to gain the knowledge on every sector. This course has given a very good level of understanding on each and every industry, which is not an easy job. I have to really hats off from my end to who has developed this syllabus. It's a very wonderful syllabus made, which covers each and every section, various industries. And if I feel like, okay, if I have to compare with any other course, they will give some understanding on the course, just giving a brief idea on what, okay, maybe it's governance is, or what Pentest is, or like, okay, we will be getting a knowledge. If where I have to feel like, okay, covering every industry and how the industry is involved into cybersecurity and what are the issues or the cyber incidents that industry has faced. No other course or no other section that are covered in this way. Really, I have to say, like, it's a very wonderful course cover.
Thank you.
For me, I have to very strongly miss last 3-4 course because lot of stuck up with that work. So I have missed some classes. It is a really wonderful course. And thank you, Anand sir and Karthik
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you very
for
much.
facilitating
Thank
this.
you very much, Rajiv.
Sir, good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Sir, good morning to all the cohorts. It was an excellent course. It's a wide domain knowledge that was given. So that obviously was the best part. And also the discussions which we had with the industry leaders in the cybersecurity domain. So that also helped us a lot. As far as I am concerned, I'm in a teaching institute where we basically train defense personnel for becoming a cyber warrior, as we call it. So as far as the course is concerned, it was an excellent course. However, apart from the course, as I said, we have certain requirements. So for that, I'll later on interact. It is regarding basically cyber labs and customized courses, which can be undertaken by the trainers to basically, because we keep having people getting posted out. So those and customized courses and city of challenges. So if that can be arranged, so probably we can see how we can subscribe to those courses. And so that part is one thing which I think we can take on. And otherwise, as far as this National Cyber Scholar Program is concerned, it was and ISAC itself, it was a good exposure, good learning. It's a wonderful work which is being done. And best wishes to you, sir. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning and happy Makara Sankranti to all of you. My name is Nayan. I take care of DevSecOps and cloud engineering practice for an organization called Altimetric. Have the additional responsibility of taking care of the cybersecurity practice as well. So this has been an amazing journey, mostly because, though I knew some part of the things that I felt that I already knew, it was an eye opener, as a few of our cohort teammates already mentioned. It is something that, which started giving me a good insight in terms of how do we handle some of these elements, especially when it comes to various domains, because I do have some experience in some of the domains, but the exposure that we got as part of the program, thanks to Karthik sir and Anand sir, to actually make sure that we go step by step in each of the domains and started sharing that knowledge that we all had. I think that was an interesting journey and the experience that we have got so far. I'm in touch with Naidu sir as well in terms of how we can take the initiatives that Isaac is actually doing in terms of taking it forward in my organization, as well as try and see how we can spread the knowledge, something that we are collectively trying to work on, and looking forward for this association to continue, because I know there are quite a few dignitaries that we have in this cohort, and I'm looking forward to actually respectfully be in touch and try to see how we can collaborate together and help each other out.
Okay. Good morning to everybody. Wishing you all a very happy Makar Sankranti and also a very happy Army Day, because today is the Army Day as well, and we have 2-3 very senior people, including a few of my colleagues from CDM who are also part of the course, I believe. In fact, it was just a coincidence that I had met Naidu sometime in, I think, October or November, and he mentioned to me about this course, and I was very keen because for about 2 years I was teaching a little bit in CDM, but this course was a total eye-opener, and it's actually helping me a lot in my present job, which is here in the Western Air Command at New Delhi, and it does give a very good macro view as well as a lot of internal understanding of how IT works and what are the pitfalls and how you need to plan very well so that you don't get into trouble. And you at the field level, there are many times you find people getting into simple problems because they don't know the basics. But this has given a very good macro understanding of the entire gamut of cybersecurity. Thank you very much. Very happy to be part of the course. Thank you.
May I ask Dr. Bindu Thomas to give her feedback since she is on the screen? I would like to take this opportunity. Raj, you may prepare yourself in the meantime. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Bindu.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. And happy Sankranti and a very happy new year that started well. Indeed, it was so informative. I must say I've been hearing the feedback as well. For me, it's a new area, but of course I had some very bitter experience due to some cybercrime earlier, and I really understand how inequipped our people are who are in the law. At least my experience. So they treat such cybercrime as a very trivial, though it has a lot of impact on the mental, on the psychological impact on the human who goes through that. So some of the cybercrimes are treated very trivial by I must say, by the officials, and they don't take it to the next level at all. So being aware, being educated about this kind of a crime and what are the precautions we can take definitely will help common people. And I see Anand sir and team have come up with so many initiatives, which I think as a academician and a professor of my own institute and the university, I would like to venture into ensuring that many such academicians and faculty members involved in educating the budding students in this area, so that one is they should not get into such crimes, two is they should be aware if they are being facing any such crime. So this is my takeaway, and I'm really thankful to the team and especially Mr. Karthik for driving us through the practical sessions. It was excellent exercise on Thursday. I did attend. I think this is how a training should be. Thank you so much for making me a part of it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Bindu. You have contributed well to the course. And I'm sure in your institution as well as Vice Chair of IEEE chamber there in Bangalore and in Mysuru chapter, I'm sure there also you will take it forward. Thank you.
Good morning, Group Captain Anand, and to all esteemed members of this course. As the Indian Army representative from Army Training Establishment, I really applaud this wonderful work being done both by RRU and ISAC in field of cybersecurity. We are now officially partners through MOU with RRU, and we received very, very positive feedback from our officers from Defense Cyber Agency who attended the last course. And based on that feedback only, we subscribed to some extent in this course. And I personally attended this course on behest of Group Captain Naidu, who was kind enough to allow me to attend the program and to take a first-hand review of the program. And I must put it on record that this type of program is very essential for at least middle ranking and senior level officers of Indian Army, which we are going to subscribe in a big way from now on. And we are trying to, we will try to, now I am aware of your basic programs, Falcon and all those, which are more technical in nature. So we'll try to identify officers who can attend that also, because for us, the cybersecurity is absolutely essential and vital. And based on what I've just said and my attendance in the program, which I have tried to attend maximum classes and which I have missed, I of course, the ISAC has been kind enough to send us the videos and recordings. I must say that I have benefited personally a lot, and I feel that this course is very essential because all of us are dealing with ITs and with the cyber aspects, and we all need to be careful. And Isaac is doing a wonderful job in acquainting us, all of us, to understand the necessity of being cyber savvy. Thank you.
Group Captain Naidu, thank you very much for bringing me on for this course. I was very impressed with the sessions conducted by Karthik and also by the guest speakers. I think the entire course content was designed only at a strategic level to give an overview on the tools and the techniques available for cybersecurity. Unless, of course, you understand the threats which will come from various quarters to our cyber world, we will not be able to defend or protect our systems well, which is extremely important. As far as warfare is concerned, really speaking, whether business, warfare, or national security, all have come together where technology is concerned. Technology brings in actually now a larger element of comprehensive national power. Earlier, it used to be many other elements which used to be thrown into comprise comprehensive national power. But I think technology is largely occupying now a larger place of importance. So therefore, when we talk about how the technology is going to bring in change into warfare or industry 4.0, I keep talking about military 4.5 because military must lead the industry if we have to go from analogous to autonomous, because most of our systems are going to turn autonomous. And our autonomous systems are only going to be systems of systems riding on digital platforms based on artificial intelligence. Largely robotics are going to come in, and the legal issues, the issues of supply chain infection, the issues of not configuring our systems very well are going to actually create a lot of problems. In fact, I was very happy to write a paper for the USI on national security, that is National Security Paper of 2021, in which they asked me to write about the role of niche and disruptive technologies in the India's deterrence and warfighting capabilities, wherein I have spoken largely about our digital platforms, which are going to be used for autonomous systems,
where non-contact and non-kinetic applications and also kinetic applications and non-contact applications are largely going to be dependent on. So as a result, I think the National Security Scholars Program, which has been conducted by the ASAC under the umbrella of RRU, which I visited only last month, I felt a lot of hard work has gone into designing this course. And we have also in this course built a community of people who will come together, who can relate to each other, because there is never a complete security arrangement ever. Even if you talk about defense of the nation, nobody can ever say that we are completely ready for defense of the nation. We are never ready for security of the nation. It is a constant endeavor because new threats and challenges keep getting thrown, and new innovations are always there in the hybrid form, wherein either the information will be thrown at, which is going to confuse the whole lot of decision-making apparatus. There is going to be new technology. So as a result, you will find that there will be challenges as far as power is concerned. There's going to be challenges as far as the materials is concerned, because if we don't have the materials, we will never be able to build anything to make our own supply chain, which is indigenous in nature. I think we need to very quickly start manufacturing our own chips. Unless we have our own chipsets, we should not be dependent on imported chipsets. You know, I was quite surprised that Oppo is going to be partnering for R&D for our space programs. NAVIC, which I still feel, how can Chinese be trusted to actually cooperate in a manner where there is a civilian foreign agency involved into our security systems on PNT. So as a result, I think indigenously we have to come together. As industry, we have to build our systems secure, which are also advanced in nature. Otherwise, if we are second grade, we are not as advanced as our adversaries. Then they are going to throw in better systems to oppose and throw challenges at our systems. So I suppose from the military perspective, it is going to be the IOMT and IOBT, which are going to be the mainstays in our system of systems approach for our overall security. I also recently wrote a paper on our smart frontiers. Most of our frontiers, whether you're talking about the borders, you're talking about the skies and the space, and also our maritime boundary, we need to build smart systems. Otherwise, we will not be able to manage our borders very well, because the hybrid threats are the ones which are going to confuse any intrusion which will take place physically or in the cyber or in the space domain. So we have to be extremely careful. And I'll be very happy if under your guidance and cooperation and coordination, the ISAC can bring this community together. You can even build a WhatsApp group where anything new that has come in, say if a particular segment is under security threat or security attack, or a new system has come to prevent it, I think we can very quickly start supporting each other. I would be very happy to know if there is somebody who says, you know, at the moment there is a cybersecurity threat or there is an attack going on on such and such sites. Even a lot of prevention can happen if we can forewarn, if we know about some attacks which have happened elsewhere in the world. At least, you know, we will all get glued on to studying how the threat has emanated. If there is any mitigation or any response that has happened or not happened, even if the systems are open, I suppose we will all very collectively will be able to bring in all elements together. I think minds have to come in together, and the intention is already there. You have selected your participants extremely carefully, and I think we can support each other in making sure that we are secure in the future. And I think the regulator, the user, and the industry have to come together, because regulator should not be the one which should be impediment in creation of new systems. But I think regulator and user and the industry have to always come together to make sure that our future defense industrial complex comes up, where the national security, the national defense, and the industry all build systems which are secure and progressive and make us help achieve the autonomous high standards which are of international repute. I can only thank Group Captain Naidu and his team, and of course ISAC, and I'm very sure that this is not the end of our association. I think this is only a beginning, that we have found each other and we will work together. There is never a complete course on cybersecurity or security. I think this is where, when I was conducting the first cyber exercise in the country, first day, there were 50 participants who came in, and they were all experts. They all were very, very arrogant from the professional aspect of it. But slowly, when we started interacting with each other, we realized that we need each other actually to back each other up. And I think on the third day, we were all talking the same language about our concerns and about challenges that we are going to face. And we were also looking at certification, how to recognize people, how to make sure that there are trustworthy organizations and individuals who can come in together and bail us out and build good systems together. I think this is where Isaac gets, kudos for taking this initiative. And thank you very much for allowing me to speak also, and making sure that I belong to the community formally now with your platform. Thank you very much, Group Captain Naidu. And thank you, Isaac.
Thank you very much, sir. You are, and of course, this is just the beginning, as you said. Thank you so much for those kind words. Yes, we strive very hard to make sure that we maintain standards. As you said, there is no perfect training program or course, but yes, each day we try and improve on our performance. That's the objective.
Sir, I want to give feedback in Hindi. Is it possible to everyone?
राष्ट्रभाषा है, please go ahead.
मेरा जो मकसद था CCIO और साइबर से जो मुझे जो व्हाट आई हैव लर्न टिल नाउ, जो मैंने सीखा है अभी तक, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मैं आपको ये बताऊंगा कि मैं एक सबसे बड़ा विक्टिम हूँ साइबर क्राइम का। मैंने अपने लाइफ में जितना लॉस किया है साइबर क्राइम से, और मुझे सरकार से कोई सहायता नहीं मिला, क्योंकि वो लोग खुद एक विकलांग हैं साइबर क्राइम की दुनिया में। चाहे वो कितने बड़े DIG रैंक के क्यों ना हो, चाहे वो कितने बड़े देश के होम सेक्रेटरी क्यों ना हो। एंड इस कोर्स से और CCIO के कोर्स से अभी तक मैंने 15 लोगों को बचाया है। और मैं फीडबैक देना चाह रहा था, पर अपने पिताजी के कुछ आर्थिक स्थिति और फिजिकली वो ठीक नहीं है, तो मैं दे नहीं पा रहा हूँ। 15 लोगों को बचाया, और मैं खास करके कैप्टन सर को बोलूंगा कि उन्होंने मुझे इस कोर्स को करने के लिए बहुत प्रोत्साहित किया, और मैंने किया, उनका बहुत सपोर्ट भी रहा है मेरे साथ। मुझे ये नहीं पता था कि ऐसे क्या कराती है, क्या पढ़ाती है, नथिंग आई वाज अवेयर। लेकिन जब से मैं सीखा हूं, इतना जरूर बोल सकता हूं कि आई एम ए सीपॉय ऑफ आइसेक, वेयर आई कैन हेल्प टू मेनी पीपल।
Thank you very much. Together we will bring in that change. Thank you, Nitish.